in about half an hour, so you might want to be out before they do. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, that's how you can get in touch with us. Let us know what's happening in your neck of the woods. Text on 40127. It's Tuesday, and it looks like it's going to be a good one.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Oh yeah, the seat is going down. Can you see? Hey, what is this? What is this?
Nobody levitates. You? You're sinking.
Surely. No sooner
Van.
Had you done?
now the mic just started going down. Ndu,
Good morning.
good morning. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
You well?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Very even.
Yeah. City,
Yes, Eric.
we're eating hot dogs today.
We are. Right. Is this something that requires some thoughtful response, or should I just
Where are you guys eating hot dogs?
just hold it? Does it just require knee-jerk reaction?
No, we just say yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we've got
Perhaps.
mustard with us.
Omo. Gone far. Wow. All right.
Right.
Good morning.
Mimi?
This is the one color at least because of hot
This
dogs.
one you know?
This color of your dress. I know.
You know this one?
This one is mustard.
Okay. Well done, Eric. You've done me so proud this morning.
Karibu. Asante sana. So what do I get?
Don't worry. Just know it's good. It's going to be good.
Okay.
Sawa sawa.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait for the good goods.
Bas.
City, how are you today?
I am very well, thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Good to see you, my brother.
Nice to see you too.
Yes.
Before you ask, I will tell you I had a pleasant evening.
Yes. Yes. I did too. I was here in the evening on KTN
We
News.
saw you.
Did you?
Listened to you too.
Yes. On Kivumbi 2022, having a conversation about this,
Election preparedness.
yes,
See?
issues here with between the judiciary and the politicians and the IEBC and maneno yote.
That's a good thing.
It's good to have issues.
Ulituwakilisha vizuri, eh?
Kabisa. Kabisa.
Ukaonyesha vilivyo,
Kabisa.
ukaambia nyinyi simama hapa na sisi tasimama hapa.
Yes.
Then tuende pamoja.
Yes.
Okay.
Nikaambiwa asubuhi muamke mapema. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. City, not City, Ndu.
Yes.
Please tease what we'll be discussing today.
All right. So, apparently, there is a blindness, almost pandemic in the country. And that a lot of the blindness that then we realize later on in life is actually preventable. So Kenya Society for the Blind will be having a conversation with the executive director today about, what are some of the things that can be done that clearly the country is not looking at. And there's a possibility, if some of these interventions are not put in place, that 10 million people could be blind in a very short period of time. 10 million. Kenyans.
10 is a large number.
10 million people.
It's a large number. So they're talking about strategies to avert a would-be crisis. They're calling it what could be a blindness pandemic. So we'll be having that conversation
Okay.
at 7 o'clock today. Kenya Film Commission will be with us later. And also we'll be having discussion with them.
Around the Kalasha Awards.
Indeed. Awards coming up, different themes then that they're looking at.
Kenya's Academy Film Festival. Academy Awards. The Kalashas.
Kenya's Oscars. The Coscars. Okay. I'm done.
Now, let's not do that thing of
Sorry,
South Africa's Fauci.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, it's Kenya's Kalasha Awards. Right? So we'll be talking about that with the Kenya Film Commission. They'll be here. They'll tell us, number one, how Kenya's film industry is faring, how the KFC is promoting film production in the country, how we're promoting Kenya as a filming destination, and all those things. The challenges, the gains, the sweet moments. Keep it right here for that and more. Let's begin with COVID-19 in numbers.
Let's do that. Let's look at world numbers. 266,692,781. Let's take a moment to look at where some of the, noise was coming out. Western Europe specifically. If we look at France, who right now is still around 6th, 7th position when it comes to the numbers of COVID-19 infections. Let's look at what happened yesterday, if this thing will agree to just, open.
To do the thing.
And it's okay, voila. So, yesterday realized 11,000 cases. The day before, 42,000 cases. The day before that, 51,000 cases. So quite significant when they were looking at 6,000, 7,000 cases just 3 weeks ago. If we look at what was happening, or what is currently happening in Germany right now, who incidentally are in 8th position just after France when it comes to now the numbers of COVID-19 cases. Yesterday, 39,000. The day before that, 35,000, 46,000 previously, and 70,000 the day before. So it was around that 70,000, 75,000, 81,000 that everybody started to get their knickers in a twist and said, okay, guys, the numbers are increasing. We're seeing more deaths than we would have previously anticipated. It is not a good showing. So we're seeing these increased numbers around. But remember, the two things are happening. It's the winter and it's going towards the holidays. So governments locking down. Western Europeans and Central Europeans are saying, forget it. We will not have another Christmas indoors. The riots are still continuing in Austria, the Netherlands. And they're saying, you know what, guys, it's enough. You figure out how to deal with this thing. Don't lock us up again over the holidays. We're not going to have a second Christmas indoors. We're not doing it. Sorry. So there are two concurrent conversations here.
The US are even more interesting. Let me talk specifically about New York. You want to go to a public place? You must show certificate.
Yes.
And
of vaccination.
And it's even required for children now. Age 5 to 11, you must show certificate of vaccination. Otherwise, you will not be admitted to a public place. This debate is going to rage on for some time.
Yep.
You're talking about individual rights. You're talking about public interest. You're talking about balancing it. It's going to be a really interesting debate. Where does one start? Where does one stop?
Right.
Where do they overlap?
And I mean, I spoke to my sister, for example. I spoke to my sister yesterday who lives in Rome, and she said, you know what? Thinking of traveling for the holidays, and they said, you know what? We don't know if we can go or not. If you leave,
Coming back
to come back to work, you do not know if you'll be able to do that. So you're going to sit put.
And as we know it, our friends in Western Europe have already declared Nigeria
Out. Not happening.
Don't come home. Don't come here.
Don't come.
Don't.
Americans have also been advised not to travel to Germany because of high rates of COVID-19 infections.
But those travel advisories, I have found them interesting. I have seen them being imposed or stated or dictated, and people say, thank you, we've been advised, and then they proceed to travel.
Thanks for the information. Now I'll make my decision.
There you go.
I'll take it into advisement.
Can I tell you really quickly what's happening in the country? 4.3 million J&J vaccines, that's Johnson & Johnson, arrived yesterday. That takes us to about now 16,201,670 vaccines having arrived in the country as they were receiving this consignment from the German government and Argentina, interestingly enough. Muthui Kagwe, CS for Health, says he's calling on Kenyans to go for the vaccinations as he received this 4.3 million, saying, you know what, we're doing everything we can to provide them. Now, please, go out and get them. That continues to be the clarion call from the government. on a day where 32 new cases were realized from a sample size of 2,800, positivity rate of 1.1%, good numbers. However,
how about if Muthui Kagwe just signs an MOU with these politicians? For instance, Raila's Azimio la Umoja will be launched in Kasarani on the 10th, on Saturday. How about if they just had a vaccination clinic and drive there at Kasarani? Say,
Right there.
come as you're getting into Kasarani.
get vaccinated and then let's chat.
Can you imagine?
By
It'd
the
be
way,
beautiful.
Eric, even as you're saying it, look at all these public functions they keep talking about.
Yeah.
Is that not a beautiful place to actually set shop and ensure that you can actually vaccinate large numbers of people at the same time?
Yes, it is.
Said, okay, you are determined to have your rallies. So be it.
Yep.
So be it.
So as you do that,
We are at this point,
let us know where you are so we can set up our
we
camp.
can set up camp. Because if you talk about an RRI, these huge rallies are a perfect place for an RRI.
And you only need just to be told, nataka sasa, muende pale, mupigwe chanjo.
Sasa ndio mrudi,
Bas.
tuwasiliane. Done.
Bas.
That's all you need to do.
18 minutes after 6. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1# to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Bro, na si watu wamejenga manyumba hii area. Kwanza angalia ile. Are you seeing that roof? That color? Sio ni nyumba mpya?
That's not a new house, bro. That's a Covermax roof.
Covermax?
Covermax. It's more than just a roof. It's color that lasts. Ukiweka, umeweka.
So whose new house is that anyway? Really nice.
Niangu.
How's that possible?
Good choice from me. Covermax didn't let me down. It's good to have a long-lasting roof when you have a family, you know?
Covermax roofing sheets with advanced color coating technology. A quality product from Mabati Rolling Mills.
The events of the past 2 years have seen the Christmas season lose its charm and excitement, but all that is in the past now. This December, Tis the Season is bringing back the spirit, the joy, the essence of Christmas with a Kenyan twist. Tis the Season invites you, your family and your loved ones to the Junction Mall, Nairobi on the 10th, 11th and 12th of December for Tis the Season, a very Kenyan Christmas directed by Atemi Oyungu with music by Eric Wanaina and produced by Sheba Hast. Get your tickets now on Ticket Sasa. Come one, come all, and let's make merry and have a jolly good time. All guidelines set by the Ministry of Health shall be followed.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 15 today. Nakuru City is clear at 14. We'll see highs of 26. It's mostly cloudy in Nyeri at 16, highs of 24 and lows of 14. It's clear at 13 in Eldoret, highs of 24. And we're looking at partly cloudy conditions in Mombasa at 24, with local highs of 32 today. Malindi is raining at 26, highs of 32 and lows of 26. While in Kisumu, it's partly cloudy at 19 with highs of 30. Kakamega is partly cloudy at 15. We'll go to highs of 31. And looking into Kampala, it's mostly clear at 21, highs of 29 and lows of 17. Dar es Salaam is mostly sunny at 25, highs of 31 and lows of 24. We're looking at mostly cloudy conditions at 16 in Johannesburg, highs of 25 and lows of 15. Mostly cloudy conditions at 27 in Lagos, highs of 33 and lows of 25. 24 and clear in Kinshasa is what we see, highs of 30 and lows of 23. Going into early afternoon in Beijing, it's sunny at 7. We'll see highs of 9 and lows of -2. While in Paris at 4 degrees, we'll see highs of 8 and lows of 4. It's clear in London at 3. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 9. And New York still asleep on Monday night. It's 10 degrees. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 16 and lows of 3.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. tonight. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Right, 22 after 6. People are online, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Edwin Washira says, good morning, listening to you from Thika Road. And next time Eric Latiff is appearing on TV, please prompt us, surely.
Every Monday,
All right.
8 p.m.
Did you hear that ring of joy in his tone every Monday
Yes.
at 6 o'clock? What time is it?
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Plus 2 is okay.
Just 2 hours.
Yeah, no problem. Macadero Mike says, County 042, which is?
County 042.
Okay. In the house, he says, back in his corner seat in the Situation Room. We see you there, man. And he says, Siti Muga Oyaore Baba.
Good morning.
Abbas, yo. Paul Ntaya says, good morning from Narok East and loving it. Asante Sana. Morris says he's tuned in from Ombay in Kisumu County. And Robert Mbogo tuning from Mombasa this morning. We see all of you online. Kevin Kipsang, good morning. Listening from Nanyuki. 90.9 is the frequency. Looking up to a great morning with candid conversations. Sante, thank you for joining us this morning. Kapsimotwa. That's where Godfrey Chumba is tuned in from. Stanley is looking out for Kenyan athletes, and he says, you know what? It's another nomination for another accolade for Eliud Kipchoge and the faithful Kipyegon. Hoping for the best.
What's the nomination this time?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We have to look into that. Sportsman, Sportswoman of the Year, something like that.
Yes.
Subukia Kahiga is where David is tuned in from this morning. And Abel Kabinga is listening in from Nandi Hills. All over the country and indeed the world represented. Thanks for joining us.
Everybody welcome. City has the day's proverb.
Yes. Kila changamoto inayokuumiza inakufundisha kuwa bora zaidi ya ulivyokuwa. Very simple proverb. Very straightforward.
Very.
Kila changamoto.
Extremely.
What's changamoto?
Break it into two.
Changa. To come together.
Moto.
To put together. Moto is hot. Fire.
Changa can also be mujanga.
Can be sand. It's now confusion.
Mujanga. It could be.
Mudogo.
Or also changa can also be a sako group. Kuchanga pesa.
That's what I was thinking. Changa come together.
Kuchanga pesa.
Chama.
So what is it in this context?
Sharage.
Huh?
It's a sharage.
Challenge.
It's a sharage.
Challenge.
I got it.
So kila changamoto lakini tumia ngeli
inakuumiza.
Every challenge hurts you. Every challenge which hurts you
inakufundisha
teaches you
kuwa bora zaidi
to be better
ya ulivyokuwa
than you were before.
Yes.
No,
Voila.
Complete sentence.
Every challenge which hurts you teaches you to be better than you were before.
Voila. See, even me, I've learned. Voila.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
You know, I don't know why, but that wasn't the song that came to mind. Asali ya nyuki.
Let's look at the newspaper headlines, please.
It's a troubling one for me on the front page of the Standard.
Yes.
They paid for state neglect with their lives.
I love that headline.
Isn't
I
it
like
just
that
an
focusing
apt
on this.
and really to the point? You know, I read it and I said,
Bas.
kudos.
That's it.
This is now a headline worthy of a newspaper like
Bas.
this.
Indeed, because what does it mean? Is that there was some digging into what actually happened here. It wasn't just some run-of-the-mill bridge somewhere that nobody cared about in backwoods Kenya. People died here, so let's find out exactly what happened. Could something have been done to avoid this? And the answer glaringly is yes. They paid for state neglect with their lives. On December 14th, 2019, Infrastructure PS Paul Maringa assessed the bridge, urged locals to calm down and promised an emergency intervention, saying its renovation was a priority. But national and county governments did what? They slept on the job. I just want to take your minds back. Do you remember when we had the school tragedy in 2019? The same 2019 where that school collapsed. And 5 years...
Precious Talent School.
Precious Talent, yes. 5 years prior, there was a report that was done, and that school was earmarked as one of those that actually should not be in
Did you say
operation.
5 years prior?
Yes.
5 years prior to the collapse of Precious Talent.
And that school had been earmarked as one of the schools that
either
needed attention.
rehabilitation or should not have been in operation. This is again something like that. On the day morticians in Mwingi were working around the clock to embalm bodies of the victims of Nzu River tragedy, a sordid picture was emerging of residents left to drown year in, year out by combined lethargy of both county and national governments. As the national government slept on its promise to put up a bridge across the river of death, the county government ignored fixing, albeit on a temporary basis, a collapsed end of the makeshift bridge which facilitated the deadly plunge. On December 14th, 2019, Infrastructure Principal Secretary Paul Maringa visited the bridge. He actually went there. He urged residents to calm down and promised an emergency intervention to save them from near ritualistic drownings across the bridge. So this drowning that happened over the weekend was not the first one. They had happened previously, and he said, you know what, we're going to handle this. Between April 2018 and December 2019, when the PS came visiting, the river had swallowed 10 people attempting to cross it. Maringa said as a short-term measure, the government would first improve the drift, which is almost being swept away by water, for residents to use as the tendering process went on. And I quote what he said at that time: "We are already factoring this particular bridge within our emergency funding and other development funding. I cannot project and say we are going to do it tomorrow, but obviously it's a priority. At the turn of the year 2019, end of January 2020, we should have a solution, and then we can start the work." I believe we are now in 2021. Okay. Area MP Gideon Mulungi, who accompanied him at the inspection, acknowledged a historical mistake of the national government, which had in 2017 agreed to tarmac the Nguni Ndu Road without factoring in the bridge. The president came here in July 2017, gave us tarmac from Nguni to Ndu, right? Was not factored in. We have lost many people here. From the video footage aired on the last visit, the collapsed end of the makeshift bridge can be seen. This is the same section from where the bus toppled over into the raging waters on Saturday. Yesterday, after the water subsided, it was easy to see why the driver and his passengers were doomed. The gaping hole eerily lay in wait to sway man and machine before the force of water took over to complete the tragedy.
So, just like Anthony, who called us from Mombasa, said yesterday, an accident is a series of events.
Right.
So let's go back into, well, very many years, but let's just start with 1st of July 2017. Uhuru Kenyatta is campaigning to be re-elected as president. He goes around the country opening some new projects. One of them is the upgrading to bitumen standard, the Nguni Ndu Road. He said, "I ask Kenyans to make the choice on August 8th based on politics intended to transform lives and not empty rhetoric that will divide us." This is what he said when he was launching the tarmacking upgrading of this particular road. Ndu to Nguni, or Nguni to Ndu, whichever way you want to look at it. That road has this very wide, it has a very wide river that cuts at some section of the road. The people at the ministry and the people at whichever agency this is, I don't know whether it's Kenha or it's Kura, that are deciding, it can't be Kura, it's either Kenha or Kera, that are deciding, let's start announcing this road for tenders to come in, according to this report, forgot to factor in construction of a bridge. So the people who tended to do the road, the bitumen standard of road. There was no budget for bridge. So road is done. Bitumen standard. Neglected. Bridge is not done.
And you think this was an error?
Of course not. 2018, Uhuru Kenyatta has been re-elected as president. Road is not done. I mean, bridge is not done. It rains. People are swept with floods.
People die.
10 people die between 2018 and 2019. The PS in charge of infrastructure, Professor Maringa, goes there because there's outcry from the locals, and the local MP has also done the same. He comes and says, "Enyewe, poleni sana. What we're going to do, this is going to be an emergency situation. What we're going to do is we're going to erect a bridge here, chap. By end of January 2019, the contracting will be complete. The contractor should be on the ground." It is December 2021. The bridge has not been done.
38 more people have died.
38 people have died.
34, sorry, 34.
So now,
Eric, when I state that people who steal from state coffers in whatever form and manner they go about it should not be charged with theft. They should be charged with crimes against humanity. And it's not very different from robbery with violence because it ends in death.
Yep.
Either people starve to death or like this one, a graphic situation where something that could have been done, not difficult to do. The money for it existed.
It's even earmarked as an emergency.
Yes. Somehow the bridge is eaten. People die. Everyone who is in that chain should be looked for, sought, named, taken to court. Everyone, including the PS, everyone in that chain. Whether it's Kera, Kura, Kenha, whoever it is, whoever was in charge of it.
Yep.
And these are engineers, for heaven's sake.
I keep telling you, engineers.
You know
Engineering is a discipline of solutions and efficiency. How can a project be advertised and you have not factored in construction of a bridge? How? You tell me, which engineer sat and looked at this road and decided, from Guni to Nu,
there is a river.
but forget about the river. Let's just put a tarmac. How?
You know, you know what? It sounds a bit radical. It sounds radical, but that's the only way. Because normally I would say, what needs to happen for somebody to pay attention in terms of what they need to do as a job? Do people need to die? Clearly, even that is not an issue. People were dying before the 34 that have so far died. And mind you, not all the bodies have been recovered as we speak right now.
Yep.
Okay? So 10 people had already died in the span of a year and a half. So it took people had already died. So I was saying, does something as grave as death need to happen for somebody to sit up? Well, clearly it does. But more than 10 people can die, another 34, almost 50 people have died, and still that doesn't even move you.
It's needless. These are people who did not need to die.
It doesn't move you to even do your job.
You know, if you ask those engineers, they'll tell you. But you see now, at some point you need to make personal choices and decisions.
They'll tell you that why
don't
did the driver
cross a
decide
river when you can see it's swollen.
That is, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This. You know, when people die, this isn't the time for you to practice your pop psychology and pop philosophy about individual choices and how people should go about their business. You think those people who live there don't know how to make decisions about their lives? They've lived that river all their lives.
You think they want to die?
Meaning on a daily basis. Today's a good day to die. Yes.
Come on.
Let's take a break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
This is something people need to understand. Your money, my money, equals our money. We cannot have your money is our money and my money is my money.
The only way to live your best life is to create a balance between work, love, and play. The Adults in the Room is the only show on radio dedicated to educating Kenyans on how they can stay winning in life and in love. Text the word adult to 22840 to get the latest clips from Adults in the Room directly to your
and where it was
mobile
snaking
phone.
along on the thicker superhighway now is actually bumper to bumper jam-packed traffic as you're getting into the city. It's also joining from Kiambu Road this morning, and so things are slowing down considerably where it was free and clear before. Not so much right now. Let's look at Juja Road where we are seeing some traffic building up as you then get towards the city today. As you join then right there at Ring Road and Ngara, there's traffic there and it's building up just in case you're heading in that direction. Limuru Road is also building up quite some. As you come off Karura Avenue, you're going to take into the city with some traffic. Uhuru Highway, don't tell anybody, it's still doing really well right now. Get on Uhuru Highway and out in 60 seconds. Okay, not 60 seconds, but you know what I mean. Okay, coming off Jogo Road and getting into the city is not too painful, at least not for now. We'll keep an eye on things, guys. Looks like traffic might do a good thing this morning, but fingers crossed, right? Southern Bypass looking pretty good, as is Langata Road. The secret is to leave early. And don't tell anyone again. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there. Text on 40127. Let's keep things moving this Tuesday.
So, yesterday Arsenal was playing again.
And? So finish the statement.
Arsenal was hosted by Everton last night. Arsenal scored first. Then Everton equalized. Then the game should have ended, but they decided to just extend it for a little bit, and then Everton scored again. Yeah.
And then the match ended.
So then the match ended now at that point. So it ended 2-1 to the Everton. Now, I was watching this on my Showmax Pro in bed on my mobile phone.
Were you able to sleep after that?
I slept very well. I just told myself, it's okay, it's a project. This is a long-term project. That's what happens with long-term projects. You watch, you learn lessons here and there,
You give in here.
You give in here.
You push a little here.
Yeah.
Lose one.
And all this was available on Showmax.
Oh, yes.
Blow by blow, kick by kick, goal by goal.
Disappointment by disappointment, especially with the referee. All those.
But you caught all the action.
Yeah.
And in bed, no less.
In bed.
Can you imagine?
On your mobile phone. So just 1,050, you get Showmax Pro, and you get the live stream of all Super Sports.
The problem with that, Eric, is this. There are people who, if they watch that thing in bed, will not go to sleep.
Okay, so they just
They will toss and turn and toss.
They don't have to be in bed.
And toss.
So those ones can decide to watch it on their smart TV, or they can decide to watch it on their laptop while seated somewhere at the desk, or they can decide maybe they're working night shift. You're working somewhere, you're a security guard, you're a doctor, you are a broadcaster, you're working at night.
What I hear you saying is that this Showmax is a delightful evening companion.
Yes.
And if you find that game isn't going in the manner that you'd want it to go, well, you have other choices.
Look for something else.
Look for your series or your movie.
Or a movie.
Get your mind away from this horror story that
of
you're
Arsenal
watching.
losing.
Yes. Look for something else.
It's okay.
Something to cheer you up.
You will find on Showmax.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 20 to 7. The conversation
Mornings
continues.
done
Other
right.
headlines in the papers today.
Eric,
Yes.
this matter of people dying needlessly is something that I personally cannot stomach. I honestly cannot. Not really. And why I can't stomach it is because it is something that we have to live with every single year, every single period, every single season. Either it's a building collapsing because the authorities who are supposed to ensure that the building meets the standards that are required don't do their job. It's begun raining. We are going to have more disasters. It is going to Christmas and people are traveling. I pray, genuinely I pray for safety on the roads because I really don't want to hear of grisly stories of things that have happened. The roads will be crowded. People missed Christmas last year. They'll want to catch up with Christmas this year. Anyway, right. Let me look at something that is particularly interesting.
Okay.
Something happened the other day, something very interesting. Okay? And it happened at the Kenyan Institute of Curriculum Development. That was yesterday. Okay? There was an event that took place to promote peace ahead of the 2022 general election. It was a meeting that was chaired and sponsored by the Ministry of Interior, and they brought with them the chairman of the Border Association of Kenya and their peoples, as in the variety of people.
The border people.
Peoples. Okay. Then the National Cohesion and Integration Commission and the head, Reverend Kobia, was also in attendance. Now, when I read this, I wondered, why is this making headline news? Then I realized, somebody somewhere is smart and understands security issues indeed. Perhaps this one, let's give a little credit to Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibisho. You know why? Border in this country, in my mind, revolutionized transport for the Mwananchi. You can go places you could never go before, go much faster. But it is the same mode and means of transportation that are used by thugs, by thieves, by scoundrels. And it is them who also facilitate a lot of things that are good and equally bad. They are the ones who are used for courier services, so they know where people live. They are used for literally everything that requires transportation. So they're in everybody's life in one way or the other. Now, if you have this, my only problem with this, you're having it once. Should it not be something that is scheduled, so you know every period?
Sustain a relationship with them.
Yes, so that is something, and refresher courses. And you remember they're talking about getting licensure for border riders. Why don't you institute something that continuously engages them? So that instead of just issues of security, you talk about issues of finance, you talk about issues of KRA. Involve them so that they understand what their role in society is. A one-off can't do it. I thought I would just mention. It is, however, a good start.
A good start.
Yes.
So they met yesterday and they were talking about cohesion, peace and security during the campaigns.
Yes.
Good one. Interior Cabinet Secretary,
now,
Dr. Fred Matiang'i, was with the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor George Magoha, yesterday, and they were talking about exam preparedness, okay? And Professor Magoha said that during his time in school, they were caned thoroughly, which made him what he is today. And that nobody died from the strokes of canes that they got from teachers in a bid to instill discipline in the students. He said, and I quote him, "I am adamant that caning should be reintroduced back in schools immediately because we cannot afford to have rogue students running amok in schools unchecked."
Professor Bango just told us he was a thug when he was in school.
Even him, so he used to misbehave, Abi. So he understands.
Discipline had to be brought into him.
He understands because he used to misbehave.
Yes. He says he was disciplined because he was caned. Matiang'i, on the other hand, is blaming human rights activists for the unruly behavior currently being witnessed in schools. He says the activists have made it difficult for the government to have sanity in the education sector. And this is about what? It's about the corporal punishment issue. Still.
Apana.
What?
No.
Apana to what? Apana to caning or
apana to Dr. Matiang'i, for heaven's sake. How do you throw the blame at the doorstep of one
group of people?
Yes, I mean, how? I was trying to find a composite word that would be able to describe this well. How? For heaven's sake. The discussion about corporal punishment didn't just begin with stop caning. It started with alternate ways of ensuring that you instill discipline. This conversation was a long conversation. It culminated in this edict that you will no longer cane. Okay? And the idea was find alternate ways of ensuring. The idea behind...
the same found. Alternate ways of instilling discipline.
Let me tell you what was found, though. Studies were done, reports were written, and they were shelved and archived, for sure. Okay? But people picked the thing that concerned them the most, no caning.
Yes.
But I can assure you there are schools where children are still caned, even now.
Yes.
The head teachers look and say, what?
Wacha wewe, kichwa mbaya.
Not happening.
Mtoto mtukutu.
Yeah, they're not happy. You're going to get caned.
So when you see children basically saying that we want to go home, it's December. In December, we're used to going to South Africa and Dubai. And we want to go home. I mean, come on. Cane those people.
Surely. Is that bad behavior? It's something that they're used to. No. Even if you're talking about the rights that students are... You know these rights, by the way, they are not absolute and in a vacuum. No. There's a check and balance to every right that you can think of. And it's within the sphere of rights that other people are also supposed to enjoy. That is why, for instance, you can have a music system in your house, you have the right to play it, but you don't have the right to blare it so that all your neighbors can hear it when they don't want to, and they haven't asked you to play it for them. Okay? That's where the term noise pollution came into being. Took me time to get that one, noise and pollution. Many pollution was in the air. But then I realized, so is sound. It's also in the air.
Yes.
Ndu,
Yes.
this issue of discipline, remember, people will come at it from the point of view of where it bears relevance to their own lives and their lived experience.
Yes.
If you lived at a time when caning did the trick, you will know how it works because you saw what it did. In this generation, I would pepper it with a bit of caution.
I'd be very careful.
Not to cane the kids.
No. How you go
apply
about it.
Yeah. So let's be careful, but let's reintroduce it. We can be careful all we want, but let's say headmaster, principal, deputy principal, discipline master. You have. Okay? Then the inspectors. We can discuss this later.
Let's discuss this later.
Talk about it later. The introduction of caning in schools. It's 12 minutes to 7. Kenya's biggest conversation takes a quick break. We're looking at the newspaper headlines. Good morning.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
What makes a man?
I had an advertising job that was toxic. It was difficult. I'm not saying the people were toxic. I don't think anyone is inherently toxic.
Don't ever let someone's perception of you become your reality.
How do we navigate through career, family, and life?
I was an average kid. I wasn't a poor student.
Examining what defines a man.
We derive our identity as men based on external factors, on things that people can be able to see.
A space for men to open their experiences and more. Starting Thursday, 18th November on the Standard Digital YouTube and Facebook page. Hosted by Eric Latiff.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning.
It's 11 minutes to 7.
Spice up.
What else are you looking at in the papers?
So, a women's group has bid to take 3 billion shillings land fight to the Supreme Court, but that flopped. I'll give you the details. The Court of Appeal has stopped more than 1,300 coffee pickers from having their battle with late Cabinet Minister Njenga Karume over a 518-acre piece of land worth 3 billion shillings in Kiambu County, heard by the Supreme Court. According to Justices Wajiro Karanja, Hannah Okwengu and Sankala Olekantai, the issues they want to raise before the highest court in the land are similar to what had been settled, and there were no conflicting verdicts that would prompt the court to ask the Supreme Court to intervene. The identified issues do not raise any novel issues that have not been determined before, nor is there in existence conflicting decisions arising from similar situations which will require the Supreme Court to address. The saga began when Miss Nora Fango sold the piece of land and moved to Malindi, where she died. All right? Leaving two warring factions, one led by former powerful minister Njenga Karume and the other consisting of coffee pickers fighting over ownership. The battle over Q River Farm involves Gitamayu trading farmers and the Nyankinywa Mugumo Kiamba Company, and has outlasted the reigns of President Jomo Kenyatta, Daniel Arap Moi, and Mwai Kibaki, and spilled into the President Uhuru Kenyatta's rule. The pickers first sought the president's intervention. When that failed, they turned to the courts. The group, comprising 600 members, most of them landless, claimed they bought the expansive land, causing Mzee Kenyatta to summon Karume to State House in Nakuru to explain what was happening. This was then. In a letter dated August 15th, 1977, by Francis Degama Rose and Company Advocate, signed by then Gitamayu Chairman Joguna Kagima, Treasury Secretary Charity Wajiko, and Secretary Peter Wariunge, it was alleged that the previous owner offered to sell her land for the first time for a cost of 1.5 million. But clearly, this did not happen. In a rebuttal, Karume claimed that the first sale proposal was to him at 2.4 million, which he was allegedly required to pay 10% deposit within a day. The back and forth has gone on for the last 30 years. This has now been taken to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says, sorry, there's nothing we can do.
Do you know it isn't the only case of this nature in this country? There's one for a huge ranch called Solio Ranch. That one is even sadder and longer. There are very many parcels of land in this country that were, this is the case, bought for, paid for by individuals who contributed money. Okay? Somewhere along the line, some powerful individual came in and somehow ended up being the owner. You hear of cases where people got their money refunded. Okay? They paid money, it was refunded, but somebody else now ended up owning it. So you actually get the impression that this person used their people to actually provide the background and the backbone and the deposits, or even the amount that was required to actually secure the land. And once the land was secured, because they're the ones who had the means and the know-how to do the paperwork, it's what they did. Some of these things, you're talking about things that happen at independence, or immediately after. You assume these things die and go away. No. People who are involved have children, grandchildren, they have relatives.
Sure.
And people have even longer memories.
Yes.
Some of these things that people think they have gotten away with, you've heard me say this before, let me repeat it again. You actually never do. The day of reckoning will come.
One day.
It will come. And right now, with all these developments that we have, it'll come sooner than you think. And usually at a time that is extremely inconvenient.
Man, when you just want justice for the people.
Yeah. Landless folk
people
who paid certain
people
money.
who innocently heard of a scheme, they contributed to it, and then
Eric, I have to say this.
It goes generations.
I grew up in Nakuru. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I've always found disturbing about Nakuru and the land tenure, it is assumed that people who had been previously Mau, had been freedom fighters, or people whose land had been taken in central Kenya, it is assumed when they came to the Rift Valley, they got land, they were given. They were not given. People bought land. They formed into groups, they bought.
Yep.
Okay? Now, the other thing that people don't seem to understand is land in this country. There was a time the president had the right. It was you could be given land. It was land you're given. You pay rates. It's yours. Being poor didn't qualify you for this.
No.
The only time you might be allocated land through balloting was if there was a settlement scheme.
Yep.
And even then, you paid
for it.
Yes. So when people talk about other people being given land, it is a misnomer. It is falsehood. People bought that land.
And in
paid
this
for
case
it.
as well. In this case
People
as well.
pay for
They're
it.
saying, look,
Yes.
it could have been 20, 30 years ago, 1.5 million shillings was a lot of money.
Yep.
It still is today.
People paid for it.
And they paid for it. But
You
then
know-
it would seem as though power supersedes.
You know what the Kikuyu call a plot? Apart from Kafuroti. It's care, which is basically assumed to be the singular for share. Share is many cares. And share, now think about it in English, share. When people are doing those things of getting into settlement schemes, they'd buy shares.
Yes.
And then once you buy shares, there's balloting and you're allocated your
share.
Your share.
Your portion.
So people were buying shares.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. It became now the land issue now, buying shares.
But something even equally tragic, when people talk about large land ownership that was previously white settlement, people lived in this land before those white settlers got
course.
there. Where did they go to?
Yes.
Where were they taken? Because it was their land.
People who were native to this land.
Yeah, they existed. Anyway, story for another day.
Big one. Yesterday, something sad happened in Njoro. And this is 6 people lost their lives after consuming what is being referred to as changar. It was basically a poisonous drink. And the story written here by Joseph Opendo in The Nation is basically catching up with one young man. Oh, well, he's not young, he was 39. But we talked to his father, Francis Mungai, who talks about his son, Michael Kariuki. So Michael Kariuki, 39 years old, had basically just got into the life of drinking. The father had tried many ways of, trying to talk him out of it. But the man had sunk deeper and deeper into alcoholism. And he had become now a point where the father had just given up on him. Imerusha mkono, nimeachia Mungu. Michael left home on Saturday. He came back late. He was drunk. The father says he found him asleep on the couch, very drunk, and he just knew, okay, this guy is drunk. Let me just cover him in the blanket. I'm going to have this fight tomorrow when he's sobers up. Following day, he gets up and he realizes, no, it's not looking okay. He says, when I looked at him, he appeared drunk. So I took a duvet and covered him, hoping to confront him in the morning. But I was surprised when in the morning I found him in the same position. And that's when I realized that he was no more. His man saw his son die. And this is just one of 6 people who died yesterday.
We're back to that Kumi situation and story, are we?
Yep. And they're not just young people. There's another one who's a 40-year-old who was running a transport business before he got trapped into alcoholism.
By the way, there was a time when big tobacco in the US was constantly and continuously under fire, not because of just tobacco and what it does, but there were allegations that they were adding certain additives into the cigarette to make it more addictive. Okay.
So when you puff, you get more and more hooked.
Your body demands it, creates a craving, and so you are hooked for life. You become a consumer for life. Some of these drinks that people take, whatever it is that they're drinking, seem to fall into that category. Because it's like somebody starts drinking it, this isn't even a rabbit hole. No. It is something else. Someone just keeps going and the end is death. And it's not complicated.
But you know what I think the genesis of all this is? All these guys who are ending up here, it started somewhere.
Yes, Eric very correctly said, it starts somewhere.
It starts somewhere. They are seeking an escape into a drink.
And the drink provides them with temporary relief.
Temporary amnesia.
Yes.
And as long as we don't address those issues.
As far as you're concerned, you're fine.
Yep.
But why is it that it has become a generational issue? Because there are many people, and you talk about it being among the youth. It's because there are many. But it's a Kenyan problem.
It's a Kenyan problem. Keep it right here for more conversations. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4
This
Spice
is Newswire
FM.
with Dennis Aseto. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha and Deputy counterpart Fred Matiang'i are now insisting on the retirement of corporal punishment in schools. The two CSs attributed the high occurrence of school fires to growing indiscipline among learners. The push for the introduction of the cane comes at a time dozens of learners are in police custody in different parts of the country in connection to arson cases that led to destruction of property worth millions of shillings in their respective schools. Over the last few weeks, cases of school fires have been on a sharp rise, with the worrying trend now leading Cabinet Secretaries George Magoha and Fred Matiang'i to call for the reintroduction of radical disciplinary measures, including caning of students.
We need to introduce caning back in schools. Like yesterday, do not expect our teachers to do the impossible. I am not a subscriber to those things now human rights of the child. I don't subscribe to those things. So Biblia inasema spare the rod and spoil the child. Mimi nataka tuanze kuzungumza how we will discipline our children. Watu waache mchezo. And that conversation will involve as to whether we still need boarding schools or not. Going further on this direction is going to include the provision of approved schools, the walking back in the legal framework on the basis of the so-called human rights.
Now, First Lady Margaret Kenyatta has lobbied stakeholders and communities to support the adoption of alternative rites of passage that involves mentorship to replace female genital mutilation. The First Lady spoke in Nairobi when she launched the Johari Beads Bracelet Initiative's Market Scope Study and Business Model. Johari Beads Bracelet Initiative is a program of the government and partners to promote the trade in beads in support of efforts to end FGM in the country by next year. The First Lady encouraged stakeholders in the anti-FGM campaign to adopt the alternative rites of passage, urging responsible state agencies not to relent in its efforts to end the retrogressive practice. The German government has donated 4.3 million doses of Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine in an effort to curb the effects of coronavirus in the country. The consignment arrived last night at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Healthiest Muthui Kagwe, who received the vaccines, also received another 400,000 doses from Argentina. Similarly, Kagwe pointed out that Kenya currently has doses of Moderna, AstraZeneca, Pfizer and Sinopharm, and that as of the 5th of this month, more than 7 million Kenyans had been vaccinated, among them 4 million who had received the first dose. It should be noted that the government targets to vaccinate 10 million Kenyans by the end of this month. The 5 people who died in Nakuru's Jowatho slums did not die from consumption of alcohol but poisoning, says Nakuru Deputy Police Commander Joseph Tanui. He says that preliminary investigations from hospital reports indicate that they died of breathing problems and for consuming a poisonous substance.
These people died not from alcohol. We are from the hospital directing to the MOH, who have confirmed to us that these people were treated here and they died of poisoning but not alcohol.
The 5 are said to have taken illicit brew Saturday before losing their lives days later. Affected families say before their loved ones died, they had complained of blindness and stomach pains. One of the victims says he still feels drunk and hasn't been able to regain his sight. Earlier this year, more than 10 people also died at Hodi Hodi, Bahati in the county, among them an expectant woman after consuming illicit brew. Police are, however, yet to complete investigations. Now, police in Kisumu launched a crackdown on PSVs that were flouting traffic rules. Regional Traffic Enforcement Officer Mwangi Ng'ang'a said the operation is aimed at ensuring that PSVs are complying with traffic regulations ahead of Christmas festive season. During the crackdown, some of the impounded vehicles had their registration plates removed.
We would like to have our roads safe for the public use, and by that we planned this operation in order to net the unroadworthy vehicles which have not complied with the traffic regulations, and by our operation we have managed to arrest 41 vehicles. Others don't have road service licenses. Most of the drivers are without the required badges and licenses.
Now, a total of 10,000 people, including Jubilee and ODM members, are expected to receive special invitation cards to attend the Azimio la Umoja national meeting slated for Friday. This after ODM Chief Raila Odinga consulted with some of the stakeholders in the preparations, as it was revealed that each ward will send 5 delegates with 3,000 special guests invited from within and outside the country. Among the special guests are former presidents of various nations who are the leaders of reform politics in Africa. More than 50,000 people are also expected to attend the rally, which will be held at Kasarani Stadium, with organizers now expressing concern over the large number of supporters. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, so what are we looking at now? A few minutes after 7 o'clock, the date has picked up in many parts of the city. We're looking at that industrial area circuit that has already packed up today. Jogoo Road and then Likoni Road, Lusaka and the Likoni interchange onto Mombasa Road. That has already started to be something. And then Langata Road will do that to you. 1 minute free and clear. The next minute, boom, there's red all the way then from the junction of the Southern Bypass out towards Raila Odinga Way at the junction. All right, then heading towards the junction of the City Motorway Roundabout, they're connecting with Ngong Road. There's traffic building up there as well. Jogoo Road doesn't look too pretty right now. And so everybody's out at the same time. It's like y'all got the memo at the same time on Thika Superhighway, spilling all from the outer ring road today. And Limuru Road now packed beyond Muthui. We'll keep an eye on things this morning on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
It's
Room.
7:07.
The only
Good
way
morning
to
if you're
start
just
your
joining
day.
us. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, on SpiceFM and online, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. City, today's proverb.
Right. Kile changamoto inayokuumiza inakufundisha kuwa bora zaidi ya ulivyokuwa.
In English, Ndu?
Every challenge that you go through will make you better than you were before.
Okay.
That's actually very well said.
Merci, merci.
Okay. That doesn't sound like a proverb, though. It's just to...
Proverbs, by their very nature, don't necessarily have to be cryptic. When the elephant sits on the hill and there's a tree nearby, the giraffe is happy.
When the sun is shining and it is raining in your neighbor's compound.
Monkeys are celebrating.
That's a proverb.
Okay. Hey.
That sounds like a wise saying.
But that is what it is. Proverbs are wise saying. Some are cryptic, some are not.
Straightforward.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It's a bit too straightforward, though.
You don't like it?
It's like a statement of fact.
Yeah.
That's why I chose it. I liked it. It was a statement of fact.
It's it is indeed very, very true. It's a factual statement. So we'll be having a conversation shortly with the Executive Director of the Kenya Society for the Blind, who will be joining us in the Situation Room. Tell us again about the blindness pandemic.
Sure. So, we're looking at blindness in the country, and oftentimes when you think about it, you think, all right, either somebody who was born with an impairment or somebody got this impairment as a result of accident, so there's really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to be looking at insights today that really let us know that there's a lot that happens that can be avoided, and then blindness can be prevented. Now, according to the Kenya Society for the Blind, there's a lot that's going on in terms of strategy to say, can we save up to 10 million people from potentially then being victims of this?
So what you're saying is up to 10 million cases of blindness are avoidable.
Indeed, and it looks like we're staring at a potential pandemic of blindness unless certain things are not done or put in place to avoid this.
There's a conversation that we want to have with the Executive Director of the Kenya Society for the Blind. Samson Wawero joins us in the Situation Room, and that's a conversation that we want to have, as he joins us. City, when you hear this, when you hear 10 million, even earlier when you talked about the 10 million, you were like, that's a very high number.
It's not really a high number. You see, it took my mind back to that when I was an undergraduate at the University of Nairobi, Kenyatta University College. And the number of people who had sight impairment at that time, I think the total number was 6. And one of the things that was interesting was they all required readers. Because to write or take notes, they needed a braille, and it's noisy. So the idea was you have somebody who helps you read after class so that you can actually type using this machine. But 6 people only. Now, what I thought of, and you see the conversation you have, if you're someone's reader, because I had a classmate called Samuel Torore, I was his reader. So you then get into that group of people who have sight issues. So you get to understand. Now, there is a joke he used to have, which only he could crack. It's only him who could. I couldn't. He said when he went for his teaching practice, and one of the things that he found particularly interesting was that he was facing the blackboard and he wasn't aware he was facing the blackboard. So he tells the student, he points the blackboard and says, "You over there, stop making noise." So I since it was here and I thought he was laughing his head off. But it brought home something interesting, because I asked him, "Were you born blind?" He said, "No. I could see very, very clearly until I was in something like Standard 5. I said, "Then what happened?" He said, "I had this problem with my eyes and it just got worse." Then I realized he could not see, but he could make out figures, but he couldn't see. Neither could he read. So there was something that caused it. And literally everyone whom I came across at that point in time had this. So when Ndu was reading this, it brought back those memories. I was thinking, goodness, So this problem has now escalated instead of reducing. Or do we have a new menace that is actually threatening the lives and the sights of people?
Let's find out. Samson Oero joins us in the Situation Room. Good morning, Samson.
Good morning, Eric Latiff, Ndu, and City Muga.
Good
nice
to have
be
you
here.
on the show.
Thank you very much, sir.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
The Kenya Society for the Blind. Let's just first of all start by understanding who you are as the Kenya Society for the Blind.
Well, we are an old society that is statutory in nature because we are created by an act of parliament, Cap 251, back in 1956. So, lest we forget, the society was created after a crisis, the Second World War, that brought back soldiers who are blind and who needed a place to be rehabilitated because their sight could not be restored from the effects of the war. That's where Kenya Society for the Blind began as the Royal Commonwealth Society for the Blind. It's a pre-independence body. It was given a huge mandate, one, to look into prevention of avoidable blindness and its alleviation, to also assist in the training, education, rehabilitation, employment of visually impaired persons. Then to advise the government, private communities on all matters pertaining blindness and to raise awareness on issues of blindness. Those were the mandates then. Then the charity of looking at, the model of looking at disability was charity in nature. So although we were envisioned to have a mandate to create employment, we were even not providing education to blind persons in our country. And the journey began then because now, as the models of disability evolve, we came to the medical model where a lot of disability was looked at as a disease that needed treatment. And now where treatment was not possible, then thinkers came up with a social model to use education and to look for ways in which people could learn and blind people could learn so that they can also contribute to the growth of the economy. That's where even Braille was introduced in Kenya. And also blind persons began being integrated into the education system. So Kenya Society for the Blind joined with partners in what was called the Kenya Integrated Education Program that sought to equip learners with visual impairment an opportunity to have an education. And I think City has a testimony of Dr. Tororei. They were those first people to go through this system of education. And what was discovered, they had the correct brains. The problem was the eye. So they could learn and they could do the exams and pass in class.
Right.
So the environment was what was making them have the disability. It's not them. We didn't have systems in place. But gradually, I think we've developed quite well to the point where we are at least affording blind persons or persons with visual impairment an opportunity to also fight for their lives through education.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have powers, aside from what you said, assisting the government, raising awareness? Do you have any powers?
Then we had powers, I believe. But right now we don't have powers. As I said, we are created under an act of parliament.
Yep.
That was last reviewed in 1988. So significant shifts and changes have happened in terms of laws and in terms of how disability is looked at. There is a new constitution, there is a Disability Act, and we feel it is the right time for the Act of Kenya Society for the Blind to be reviewed so that it's given adequate powers to assist in the current modern scenario.
What would it do, Samson, this act, if we're just looking at practically, what doors then would it open if this act were to be reviewed, looking at it in its existence currently, and then what we're hoping would happen after the review? What would it unlock in the country?
It would unlock significant things for advocacy and the fight against blindness. Because one, we are created charitably, meaning we are not financed from the exchequer. We are not given any budgetary allocation. So we are supposed to get our funds through donations, charity works, IGAs, membership subscription. And with the burden of blindness now, it's not a sustainable way to fight such a calamity. So we would need to be considered for funding by government, so that government plays a part. Because when people go blind, they are still government patients. When they acquire disability, we are a government people. So why not play a part first by investing in prevention of avoidable blindness? Two, we are given 3 ministries who have representatives in our council: the Ministry of Health, because of prevention of blindness; Ministry of Social Services, because of the disability factor; and then the Ministry of Education, because of inclusion of education. But this ministry, it is not clear what role they should play. They only sit to provide technical advice. But I think we should now move and see what are the sustainable things we can do, and that ministry can provide support to the society.
Let me ask this question. We have affirmative action, and we've had affirmative action in the education system with regards to the geographical area certain Kenyans came from. And there was an understanding that if you come from a certain area, when it comes to admission into, say, for instance,
schools, secondary
schools, and so forth, you were given some consideration. Is there any such consideration for people who have visual impairment?
Yes, there are certain considerations when it comes to exams that are administered through the Kenya National Examinations Council. For instance, when we did our KCSE exams, we had an additional time of 30 minutes for all the exams, such that if it's mathematics, we will take 2 hours, 30 minutes, while others take 2 hours. These were affirmative actions aimed at ensuring that at least, because reading Braille is a bit slower and many other challenges, given that you can also acquire blindness when you are still in your education at class 7, you will not have gained enough skill to use Braille for your exam as this person who has been blind from when they were born. So these were some of the things that we've seen being used to try and assist the people who have visual impairment. At least I can remember that. And then there's this other affirmative action where, as long as you have a C+, you are qualified to enter university. Whether the cut has been put at B or B-. For those with disabilities, when you have a C+, you are allowed to...
you basically meet the threshold for university admission.
Yes.
And when you get to university, say, or you get to a tertiary college, do these institutions have within them facilitation to ensure that somebody with visual impairment actually has a fighting chance and is on the same footing as other people who do not have such an encumbrance?
As you correctly put it, Kenyatta University was the only institution that had at least put those provisions for students with special needs to acquire an education. So back in 2012, I think there was a change with the Higher Educations Act, whereby now universities increased. And instead of telling a student who has finished their high school, no, you will have to go to KU. That's where your needs are taken into place. The new constitution provides for every institution needs to be disability friendly. Right. They need to be mainstreamed. So all university had to be told, we will bring students with disabilities, and you have to start putting in place systems that will ensure they are well integrated and they are well educated. And I think we were the first people. I was at the University of Nairobi, and ours was baptism by fire, because then you get into a class and a lecturer doesn't know anything about Braille. The university has no Braille devices. And there I am, getting into the lecture hall, listening to notes being taken, and now it's a knee-jerk reaction. It depends with what the lecturer will think and what they can assist. And then there are bureaucracies. We need to get this approval. We need to take this to this office. So exams came after a semester. Yes, we've been in class, but
you cannot sit the exam.
Yeah, so we had to borrow braille machines from elsewhere to sit the exams. Then the other challenge comes. You're in the exam room and the papers are brought in print. Then how do you know what questions are on the paper?
I'm curious as to how. I'm curious, really curious. At that point, then how did you study and then graduate? How did you do that then?
So we had to be clever and to devise ways and means to ensure that we studied. So when the exams came, we had to ask the lecturer to read to us the questions. We write them in braille first. And then we would use those questions to then answer on a separate script.
Wow.
The challenges didn't end there. Yes, you've done your exam. How
But
will
now
the lecturer mark it?
does not
no braille.
no
yes.
braille.
So by the time we had gotten to third year, some of us had given up on braille. So we had to go to Kenya Society for the Blind, got training on use of computers with JOS. Because what that means, you could now type your exams out, you give to the lecturer, they go and mark and give you back your results like the other people. So when we were in fourth year, we had this issue of missing marks. Because you did a braille exam, the lecturer could not translate it, it's lost.
Wow.
So probably you have to receipt.
Graduation now becomes an issue.
Yes.
So I want to go back then, because we have Kenya Society for the Blind established by an act of parliament. Then we have a new constitution. We have the Disability Act and a whole conversation around, affirmative action, and persons with disabilities have to be recognized even in the constitution. But we still have a body that is supposed to be taking care of, issues around blindness that does not even have teeth to bite. You have representation of 3 ministries in your board. When they come and sit, there's nothing that they're bringing to the table. We have a ministry and a State Department for Social Protection that says this is where you fall as well, persons with disabilities. But there's it's a goodwill. It basically requires political goodwill for them to see, okay, now you're going to give some 5,000 shillings to buy 1 or 2 desks for the Kenya Society for the Blind.
Actually, what the kind of support we get is technical support from the government, where this 3 representatives will sit on the board and advise. They just ensure that there is a society, their reports sent on time, and they give some recommendations. We are still trying to pursue the ministry.
What kind of recommendations?
Well, we have education programs, and we mainly look for donors or apply for grants so that we can implement programs. And therefore, we will want to implement programs, and the government is also aware of what we are doing. And so these representatives in the council, they act as oversight, basically, in the day-to-day management. But what we think now is that we need a more sustainable way of tackling issues of blindness. And this is, let also government be involved. If we are calling on donors and we are looking for other donors, the government should be the main donor. They should take responsibility. And that's why we are calling for the review of our act to at least give the government more responsibility, which will in turn make KSB have more teeth to bite.
We are having a conversation with Samson Oero, the Executive Director of the Kenya Society for the Blind, and we are looking at the strategies for averting a blindness pandemic. We are getting, warmed up for that conversation. Currently, Samson, as you're telling us this, who's in charge of mainstreaming the conversation around blindness in terms of, do we have data on how many people are born blind, those who become blind? Do we have data of the current number of people who are living with blindness across the country? Do we have data on those that require education and education facilities, those that are accessing? Do we have any kind of information and data around this? And then, do we have programs in place that have been designed in government as policy or as programs that are catering for all these needs that emerge?
Yes, we have a Ministry of Health that has an ophthalmic services unit, which takes leads on matters of blindness. We have a national eye health strategy for 2019 to 2024. This national eye health strategy outlines clearly what needs to be done by the country so that we attain the best possible standards of a comprehensive, inclusive, and people-centered eye care services. So, in this eye health strategy, KSB is also given some provision so that we can produce quality eye drops for the Kenyans who cannot acquire eye drops easily. So all we are waiting for is operationalization of the national eye health strategy. The other thing is in regards to data, we don't have concrete data. We are now focusing on doing a rapid assessment test to understand the problems of blindness in the country. This needs an in-depth research, and it needs players in the eye space, led, of course, by Ophthalmic Services Unit, Kenya Society for the Blind, and there are many other players, including CBM, Sightsavers, Fred Hollows. All those players come together and sit down to look into how we can then tackle this menace of prevention of avoidable blindness, and also lobby the government so that we ensure that we have probably enough healthcare workers who are qualified and who are experts in the eye issues, because that we don't have. You'll find that 62% of all the healthcare workers we have are based within Nairobi and its environment. But the burden of blindness is more in the rural areas. And there then we have no enough workforce to assist in the prevention of blindness or in fighting blindness. We also have the problem of infrastructure. Very few hospitals, you'll see, have the correct equipment, the correct systems to do blindness. And then you come to equipments. Do we have the modern equipments? It's still a challenge. So what this points to is the fact that we are not investing a lot in issues of eye health. And that's why people are going blind unnecessarily. From where we sit as Kenya Society for the Blind, we rehabilitate the newly blinded people. And you would be surprised, but today we are seeing numbers coming into the society seeking for rehabilitation services because the cases have gone to the extent where their sight cannot be restored. And so this is why we've joined other partners led by CBM to do a project that is known as the Vision Impact Project, so that we see how we will start tackling blindness in a comprehensive way.
Let's take a break at 7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We are talking about strategies for averting a blindness pandemic in Kenya. With us in the studio is the Executive Director of the Kenya Society for the Blind, Samson Waweru.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Famous, the secrets we keep, live La Liga action. Offer Showmax Black Friday special imeingia. Lipa for 1 month and get a second month sare. Yani 2 whole months of the biggest shows in Kenya na English Premier League futa and lots more. Zote kwa 1 low price only on Showmax. Offer inachomoka soon, so sign up chap at showmax.com.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial star 550 star 2 hash to read the Nairobian e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line and stay up to date, the hottest talk of town with no additional charges.
Shipping and logistics is no longer a nightmare, courtesy of Sandy. Tune in to Sugar and Spice with Yolanda Mulo and DJ Absolute from 11 a.m. to find out how the Fulfillment app by Sandy is here to give you the peace of mind by ensuring all your packages are shipped safely to your destination.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
Ceci, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has you ever that kind of... Has anybody been
Listen, I will not listen.
A bit of advice. Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to
Cloudy
start your
this
day.
Nairobi morning at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 15 today. It's sunny at 13 in Nakuru, also highs of 26 and lows of 12. We're looking at partly sunny conditions in Nyeri at 15, highs of 24 and lows of 14. And we'll see a low of 12 in Eldoret, where it's currently sunny at 14. We'll look at highs of 24 today. In Mombasa, it's sunny at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 24. While Malindi is also in the sun at 28, highs of 32 and lows of 27. It's partly sunny in Kisumu at 21, highs of 31 today. And Kakamega is sunny at 21 as well with highs of 31. Partly cloudy conditions in Kampala at 21. We'll see lows of 18, while the low will be 24 in a wet and rainy Dar es Salaam, currently at 26. It's mostly cloudy at 17 in Johannesburg. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 15, while Lagos is clear at 27. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 25. Kinshasa is mostly cloudy at 23. Highs will be 31, back down to lows of 23.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Jogga Road is doing its thing this morning. Very slow traffic getting into the city, and we're also looking at it happening on Mombasa Road as well. All the way from Sabaki, it's inching very, very slowly towards the SGR and then out towards North Airport Road. We have a bit of a problem there just past Cabanas, and then heading out towards General Motors this morning doesn't look too bad, but that whole Imara Daima stretch, very slow in and outbound. On to the Eastern Bypass, some traffic there. Langata Road also joining that. The industrial area is quite packed as well. The eastern part of the city is experiencing a hard hit when it comes to traffic this morning. And we're also looking at the western side with traffic coming out of Westlands, out from Muga. Very slow this morning as well. Let's keep an eye on things. Use the Red Hill Link Road coming out of Westlands into the city. It'll take you a shorter time period as opposed to sitting in traffic. Let's talk in a bit, shall we? SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
And the conversation continues about Showmax. Showmax.com is the website that you need to log on to. Just www.showmax.com and select one of the packages that you'd like. If you'd like just the Kawaida Showmax, it's 300 shillings a month. Stream or download series, movies, Showmax originals and kids shows. If you go for Showmax Pro, you get streamed or download series, movies, kids shows, live sport from Supersport, news and more. That is, if you actually go for this Showmax Pro at 1,050 shillings a month, you get to stream live sports from Supersport, including Formula One, if it's football, if it's the World Cup, it's coming next year, it's a World Cup, and all these others on Showmax Pro. And then also you get to watch news. KTN News is among those in that package. www.showmax.com.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 22 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Strategies for averting a blindness pandemic in Kenya. Averting a blindness pandemic in the country. In the studio with us is Samson Oero, Executive Director of the Kenya Society for the Blind, being hosted by Eric Latiff, CT Muga, and Ndu Okoh.
Samson, I mean, we're talking about. I mean, even yesterday, as we chatted a little bit, you said, look, things are not looking really good.
Yes.
In the country when it then comes to blindness and the possibility that many more Kenyans could actually fall into this bracket, and we're now trying to say we can avert this. So, what would be the cause of the potential blindness that you see amongst so many Kenyans? What would be the cause? Are we looking at disease? Are we looking at accidents? What are we looking at here?
Let's look at the numbers because they don't lie. And the statistics that are generated by the Ministry of Health. Over 10 million Kenyans are on the danger of going blind. 7.5 million are already affected and need services. The government, together with all partners in the eye space, including Kenya Society for the Blind, is able to reach 1.7 million Kenyans. So we still have a lot to do to ensure that the 7.5 do not cross the divide and become blind. The other issue is for the conditions that lead to blindness. Age-related trachoma, that is a big cause. Cataract is another cause. Glaucoma is another cause. We also have refractive, the short-sightedness and the long-sightedness as problems. And how accessible can you get glasses to correct the situation? So those are the leading causes, including diabetes retinopathy, which is now a lifestyle disease. So you can look at it from all angles, including some alcohol that people take and they lose their sight.
Right. As we saw yesterday.
Yes. So these are things that are happening, and they are claiming Kenyan sight, and they are the most common. But the good thing is 80% of all these conditions can easily be treated and be prevented if only they are detected early.
And, what would it mean, Samson? Because I mean, one of the things you mentioned was trachoma, right? And you see this not just in the elderly, but you see this in younger folk as well.
Yes.
And so then I'm just thinking that, you know, if you're saying that they can be prevented, so you're looking at things like screening, what areas are we seeing that this is more prevalent in the country? And then now connected to why perhaps screening is not taking place, which is something that could be done. And I know that KSB, for example, has carried out quite a number of screening exercises around the country. So are we saying that these can be avoided if we take the preventative approach?
Yes, that's true, because you will never know the kind of condition you have without going for screening. So to the Kenyans, you need to come out for screening. To all partners, we need to provide the appropriate support to ensure that we get many Kenyans screened as possible. Most of us will wait until maybe you have some pain in the eye, or you start finding out, by the way, I can't see, I can't drive properly. That is when you go to seek for services. But eye screening should be something you do yearly, at least twice. The way you have your maybe dental checkups, you need to have your eyes screened so that if you have a condition, it's treated.
Samson, let me ask you this question. Huh? We often have in this country, through the Ministry of Health, very successful polio vaccination drives.
Yes.
Now, has there ever been a situation where you've come across a program that screens children of school-going age, right from a very, very early age, to determine whether the sight is something that their sight is as it should be? Have you ever heard of such a program?
We have not had a program.
Yes.
By the government.
Yes.
That seeks to go round the country, gung-ho in a campaign to address eye health issues.
Yes.
What happens is that different partners will go to different parts of the country and do screening for as much people as they can screen. And then the government is also involved because there are healthcare workers in those communities who will be used to do the screening. But this means partners will choose where to go. Some will maybe seek for advice from the Ministry of Health. But I think a comprehensive approach where all partners or the government takes lead and brings together all partners and they decide we are fighting blindness, this is a strategy and this is the way to go. I think those are the conversations that we are having currently. And that is what we want to see happen. So that we address this problem comprehensively. If we are saying going to do screening and treatment and referrals in, for instance, Meru County, we go to Meru County and do that from sub-county to sub-county, raising the awareness, calling people out for screening, and everyone is involved.
There are parts of the country that seem to have, should we say, a bigger problem with issues to do with sight than others. Is that so?
Yeah, that is so.
Precisely. So, meaning the idea of addressing this problem where perhaps it's most prevalent is something that can easily be done because we already have the information.
We have the information. We've previously we've seen some researches or surveys being done by the Ministry of Health. So this information is there. And that's why this program that we are engaging in, the Vision Impact Project, to begin with, it's targeting 7 counties, which will then grow into 10, which are mainly affected by different conditions. In these counties, there are health institutions that operate in them. So, for example, in Bomet, we have Tenwek Hospital, which is well known. In Vihiga, we have Sabatia Hospital, which will be taking lead in terms of giving the eye care services. And then we have a PIC technology, which is a mobile application that can be used by teachers in schools to detect an eye condition. And this information can easily be sent to the Ministry of Health health management system. So that once this data is collected, you're able to go then and refer this kid so that their condition is looked into and they are given the appropriate treatment. So we are taking eye care services even now to health volunteers, because if you have an application and what you need to do is use it to examine the visual acuity of a person, and from that it can give you what problem this person has in terms of eyesight. It means then if we raise the awareness and we have more people screened, we can get much more Kenyans assisted in terms of averting potential eye health issues that could easily degenerate to blindness.
So how do you fund your operations? I'm asking this because the next question I'm going to ask is, when you're doing all these campaigns around the country, what kind of support do you have, or what kind of support do you need?
We fund our operations through strategic partners and Currently, or previously, a few years ago, we've been working with corporate entities to get some kind of support to do medical camps. So you'll find in a year we will do 3 or 4 medical camps in different places of the country, maybe supported by Insurance Regulatory Authority, sometimes UAP or Mutual. And then we get the report, but we don't have enough funding to help these people get treatment or get referrals. So that if it's a cataract, you take them for a cataract surgery. So although we do these medical camps, there has been a gap. And that's why now we have come together with a partner like CBM so that we do eye screening, treatment, referral, rehabilitation for those already blind, to begin with in the 7 counties. So through BMZ, it's a German agency, the government agency, is funding CBM with 2.2 billion that will be used to fight blindness in the 10 counties. And so KSB has work cut out for it within this project in terms of rehabilitation, inclusive education, where we will take one school in the county, make it a model school for inclusive education, so that slowly we stop this thing of having special school where you take children with disability to one's school and they sit there on their own. Then when they come to university, they have to be in the university with all these other kids. So we will make an inclusive school in each of these 7 counties. We'll also provide quality spectacles through a partner called ESLO. It's a French company that does spectacles, very good spectacles. So that if your condition is identified to be needing refractive correctional devices, you are prescribed for, and you are good to go and to go on with your life.
Sure. Even as you say these things, I mean, just intertwining what you had said before in terms of the support that was not available very many years ago for those who are visually impaired or have had loss of sight, right?
Yes.
And then, I mean, other vulnerable, those who are existing with disability.
With blindness already.
Right.
Yes.
So it's clear that there's a lot of work that's being done despite the fact that, you know, there's an act government instituted and that more support should be coming, but it's not. So there's a lot of work that's going on despite the absence of that support.
There's a lot of work that has started now to come.
Right, okay.
But all I say is, for those people who are already blind, I think we've always have had this habit as human beings of waiting for something of huge proportion or catastrophe to happen so that we think of how we support, let's say, blindness. Because the creation of Kenya Society for the Blind was after the Second World War.
And it was mainly catering for the people who have come back.
Yes.
Injured, yeah.
That is what informed then the need to have a society for the blind. Then in 1998, when we had bomb blast, we had other blind persons. That other persons that had been left blind. So what happened? We then saw a lot of support coming to Kenya Society for the Blind so that they could take care of these people. Few years after,
it all died down.
It died down. So what I usually ask, are we waiting for another thing to happen so that we can support issues to do with blindness?
Samson, if the government was to help, what would they do?
I think we are now looking for sustainable solutions to issues of disability and issues of blindness. For us, I believe we are government, being a statutory body. So since the Constitution now and the fact that we've ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability as a country, and it forms part of our laws, let's look as disability using the human rights approach, where the government is playing an active role in funding for sustainable programs that will assist its own people. Because that is what we are not doing. We've left it to the donor for a long, long time. But I think now we should start addressing it from ourselves so that donors can come and chip in maybe what you are not able to do.
But we should not even be getting there to a point where we are looking to donor support. If we have a constitution and a Bill of Rights, that guarantees some certain basic rights, is it not expected that the government has then a responsibility by constitution to take care of people who are living with disabilities in the country? And this is not a progressive right. This cannot be a progressive right.
And that's why for us who are already blind, we tend to be selfish and tell the government the best way is to prevent more people from having these disabilities, because the expenses that comes with supporting an individual who is already visual impairment is really high. For instance, you know now if you're blind, you cannot even use a mulikamuzi. You need a smartphone. If you're working in an office, you need a laptop, but you need an extra 120,000 to buy the speech software that is JAWS. Yeah. If you go blind, you will need to have a guide. Yeah. So you need to have enough money to be able to pay for your own needs and that of the guide. Yeah. So why would we allow more people to go blind with all these challenges?
Right. I think it speaks though. It's often said that if you look at the way the nation, any nation, supports or ignores its least vulnerable, and we're talking about here, anybody who has a disability or the poor or, the orphan, etc., then that's the measure of that country. So then the insistence must be to offer support, and not because you're doing a favor, but because you are fulfilling the rights of these individuals.
That's it.
Isn't that the measure of the country, of the government, that you can say, all right, we have those who are not able to fend for themselves, operating, living, existing within the boundaries of this country. Much more then must be done to offer support.
Are they even able to get a job despite the fact that you've maybe acquired an education? Because what will be looked at, it's your disability.
Yep.
Not your ability maybe to deliver in our profession.
Samson, are you saying that those who have visual impairment experience discrimination when it comes to being employed?
Yes, they experience some sort of stigma. Even if we are being employed, I would say we are being employed when you have papers, yes. But you have to be asked a question. Now that you are blind, how will you be able to do this kind of work?
That's true.
And you have to prove that although I'm blind, I'm capable of delivering. Then that is the government. And you see, with the government, there is performance contracting.
Yep.
There is a provision under Article 54 that at least 5% should be for persons with disabilities. So what we should ask ourselves, are we doing this because of the law or because it's a good thing to do and persons with disabilities are even more productive?
Because we've actually internalized that they are as productive as the rest of us in society. Samson, we have a caller on the line. He's Mwalimu Godfrey Kamau. Mwalimu Godfrey calls us often on the show. He also is a person who lives with blindness. Good morning, Mwalimu.
Good morning.
How are you, Mwalimu?
I'm too good. I've decided not to go to class today because our director is around.
Hi, Godfrey.
Hi, director.
I'm very fine.
You are with the duo there.
Yes, I'm with the duo.
and I think she can see how great you are. Yes. May I give some view?
Yes,
please. For a long time, Kenya Society for the Blind has lacked a brain, a mind, like the one that you have today. And that's why some of these things are not been happening. Not because the government or people are not willing to help. But you cannot help a society that has no direction. And that's why Mr. Samson Waweru is pleading for help maybe in one or another, because at least today I can confess as a person with visual impairment that at least anybody who has some funding can feel free to fund a free corrupt society. And as one of the persons, I concur with our director that we need some help so that we can continue, or they can continue with what they're supposed to do. But as a person who is already in visual impairment, I have pushed our director to, yes, the act talks about how we can prevent blindness, but most of us are already in blindness, and I have always asked them now to expand their work to also help us who have in disability already.
Yeah.
And I thank the director that they have done a lot in this, because recently, and I said this to you one day, most of our persons with visual impairment are teachers. And initially, we used to go to training colleges without no issues. But today, as we speak, no one got into teachers' college last year because of certain regulations that were brought in, which affected our visual impairment persons. No one got into teachers' college. And this is a scream for the future, because you see, telling a person with visual impairment, and I think the director will explain in this, telling us to get a C in mathematics so that we can join teachers' college, that means you are killing us. And I don't talk out of the doom. I talk of the fact. Go to all schools for the blind in Kenya and tell me how many persons with visual impairment got not a C. How many of them got a D or a D plus in mathematics? You
Big
find
issues.
very few.
Big issues. We'll continue having these conversations. Thank you very much, Mwalimu, for joining us.
Asante sana.
Asante for calling in. And Samson, asante sana for joining us as well this morning.
Thank
so
you.
as we conclude, in about 30 seconds, if somebody would like to support the Kenya Society for the Blind, how do they reach you?
One, they can reach us. We are on Maimai Hill Road, next to Mo Education Center. That's where Barclay House is.
Okay.
Secondly, we are on the website, ksb.org.
Okay.
And they can also reach us via our social medias, Kenya Society for the Blind. We are also there. And if they wish to support, we have a pay bill. Anybody who feels they want to support the cause of Kenya Society for the Blind, so that we can help more people avoid blindness, or help even children. The pay bill number is 955 150.
955-150.
The account number.
Thank you very much for
is
joining
your name.
us. Account number, your name. Asante sana for joining us.
Thank
Have a
you.
lovely day. We'll see you again
Thanks
soon.
for the terrific conversation.
Asante.
Look forward to be back.
It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newsroom Dennis Aseto. An administrative police officer has killed 6 people, including his girlfriend, before shooting himself in Kangemi, Nairobi. It is reported that the officer, who has been serving in Kabete, shot the 6, including boda operators. The motive for the killing is not yet known. Body identification at the Mwingi Level 4 hospital is ongoing. The hospital management also says that fingerprint and blood samples for DNA testing is also ongoing. Minister for Health Kitui County Dr. Kitetu says the exercise will be carried out by different institutions, including the Red Cross, DCI, county government, as well as the National Disaster Management Team. 33 people, including 11 members of one family, perished in the tragedy when a bus plunged into River Nziu. The group, which include members of a church choir, were headed to a wedding ceremony. 12 survivors were, however, rescued. Now, 5 police officers accused of killing Caleb Espino are protesting the prosecution's decision to charge them with murder. The officers Khalif Abdullahi Sagat, James Muli Koti, Joseph Odhiambo Sirawa, Edward Kongo Ochongo, and Nelson Nkanai told a Mombasa court that an investigation should have been conducted before being taken to court on September 9th this year. The court has given them 14 days to present reasons why they should not be prosecuted. The trial is set to resume on December 20th. On September 17th, 2018, 40-year-old Espino and his accomplices were arrested by police officers in Changamwe, Mombasa County for allegedly smuggling illicit alcohol. An autopsy report released on October 16, 2018 revealed that Espino's body had blood on the brain as well as injuries on the spinal cord. Now, the 6th edition of the Turkana community's famous Tobong Lore is expected to take place despite strong opposition from some Turkana leaders. The event is scheduled to take place on the 9th to 11th this week, with the festival's security committee chairperson James Lokioto reassuring guests that security has been tightened to make the ceremony a success. The event brings together hundreds of people from the Ateker community, with guests expected from Uganda, South Sudan and Ethiopia. Some officials led by Pima MP, Loima MP Jeremiah Lokorumai have opposed the use of millions of Turkana County funds from preparations despite local residents suffering from food shortages. He has vowed to use the court to suspend or close the road leading to the venue. However, according to Lokioto, the police are fully prepared for any threat. Now, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha and his interior counterpart Fred Matiang'i are now insisting on the return of corporal punishment in schools. The two CSs attributed the high occurrence of school fires to growing indiscipline among learners. The push for the reintroduction of the cane comes at a time dozens of learners are in police custody in different parts of the country in connection to arson cases that have led to destruction of property worth millions of shillings in their respective schools. Over the last few weeks, cases of school fires have been on a sharp rise, with the worrying trend now leading Cabinet Secretaries George Magoha and Fred Matiang'i to call for introduction of radical disciplinary measures, including caning of students.
We need to introduce caning back in schools. Like yesterday, do not expect our teachers to do the impossible.
I am not a subscriber to those things called, now human rights of the child. I don't subscribe to those things. Sababu Biblia inasema spare the rod and spoil the child. Mimi nataka tuanze kuzungumza how we will discipline our children. Watu waache mchezo.
And that conversation will involve as to whether we still need boarding schools or not. Going further on this direction, it's going to include the provision of approved schools, the walking back in the legal framework on the basis of the so-called human rights.
We switch gears to matters politics, where Deputy President William Ruto and his allies are urging the judiciary not to be used to even out the political playing field for their opponents. They say the talk of reviving the Building Bridges initiative was set to create positions to be shared by leaders in the emerging formations. The DP has further warned players in the criminal justice system against being used to threaten UDL leaders and supporters. During his 3-day tour of Nyeri County, the DP and his allies pledged to ensure the campaigns are peaceful.
And the criminal justice system should not be used to intimidate or blackmail or threaten leaders. Those who want to compete with us, they should compete with us on ideas and on a plan. They should not use the criminal justice system to threaten our supporters or to blackmail those who want to work with the hustler nation. It just demonstrates that they have no plan, they have no clue where they want to take this nation.
This is Newswire Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Quite a lot of it on Mombasa Road this morning, heading out into the city inbound at Maritime, and that's going to continue being a headache until that particular construction area is sorted out. We're looking at Langata Road also continuing. My goodness, we woke up and Raila Odinga way, there's no way. Well, there's a way, but there's no way. But there's a will, but it's just not moving. There's too much traffic going on here this morning. City Mortuary roundabout coming off from Gong Road actually is very, very slow this morning. Nakuru Highway, all the way from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout to Westlands. To Westlands, folks. Where is everybody going? It's just Tuesday. Calm down. We're seeing traffic also on Limuru Road. So the entire circuit, Westlands out through Limuru Road, and then using Wangari Maathai Road, and then you wind up at the Muthui Square. So that entire circuit today, a lot of traffic, guys. You don't know what's going on. Coming off Thika Superhighway as well. It's jam-packed. So things are moving at a snail's pace. Hopefully we can pick it up in a little bit and see what it looks like a few minutes after 8 o'clock. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's see where you might be stuck or where you find a good route. Let's share that as well via text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only
It's
way
8
to
minutes
start
after
your
8.
day.
Very good morning to you. How are you doing? Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room on SpiceFM. Online, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And for the next 52 or so minutes on KTN Home. City Muga has had a series of Swahili proverbs. Today's is Bandu Bandu.
Sio bandu bandu ishi ya gogo, hapana. That one will be for Friday.
Okay.
Leo, kile changamoto inayokuumiza inakufundisha kuwa bora zaidi. What did I say was the end again?
Bora zaidi.
Bora zaidi.
Ya ulivyo.
Utakuwa bora zaidi kuliko ulivyokuwa.
Ulivyokuwa.
Yes.
This proverb is a changamoto myself.
You know, one of the things that I find fascinating when I read about proverbs is that some are so bland. It falls under proverb. 3 words. And you're told proverb. Some, it's a whole paragraph. You're told proverb. Some, like this one, 2 lines, you're told proverb. Then some are cryptic. Remember, the elephant on the hill, giraffe walking on the side, and monkey singing in the choir. Now, there is no such proverb, but I'm simply saying, for many Africans, if there's no animal in the proverb,
then it's not a proverb.
and there's no hint of a witch doctor somewhere, okay, and something extraterrestrial, how can it be a proverb?
The wind is not blowing.
It has to blow, and something has to happen. Now, proverbs, by their very nature, are simply that, sayings of the wise, meaning it's supposed to cause you to pause and reflect. Some may cause you to reflect perhaps a little more profoundly, but at some point, even if it's just a gentle reminder of something you already know, it has caused you to reflect.
All right. Now that you've reflected, please read the proverb again.
Kila changamoto inayokuumiza inakufundisha kuwa bora zaidi ya ulivyokuwa.
In English.
Every challenge gives you an opportunity to become better.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
You know, when you're reading all these Swahili proverbs, I was waiting for a day like today when you'd prove that you're a man from Tamu in Muhoroni. Changamoto.
Changa, in fact, this is the influence of town. I should have said Changa Muoto. Yes.
This one, Changamoto. It's the Luo Swahili word. It's the only Swahili word that is Luo. Changamoto.
Interesting.
Our guest in the studio this hour is Timothy Owase. Timothy is the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Film Commission. Not to be confused with the Kenya Film Classification Board.
Very correct.
Okay, what's the difference?
Kenya Film Commission is a state corporation under the Ministry of ICT that is mandated to develop, promote, and market Kenya's film industry. While Kenya Film Classification Board, just by name, it's actually an agency of the same ministry mandated to classify films. It does what we call rating. Yes.
So they're the ones who look at this is adult content.
That's correct.
This is PG. This is suitable for all ages.
That is it. And they provide advisory.
Okay. And what do you do?
For us, we look at industry development, talent nurturing, promoting Kenya's film industry locations, and also advocating for a conducive environment for filming industry in Kenya. Yeah, so we have a very wide mandate that touches on various aspects, including research, being able to provide information that is relevant for key decision makers in the country, and also marketing Kenya's locations, infrastructure, and all aspects that will enable this country to be a real destination for filmmaking. Yes.
It's interesting now we talk about that because now we are going to be talking about the 11th edition of the Kalasha International Film and TV Awards.
Yes.
So now tell us about those awards.
Yes, in line with our mandate of nurturing talent and creating a conducive environment for filming, we support film productions and promotion of local content in the country. And as we do this, we have also provided a platform to enable Kenyans to celebrate the kind of products that Kenyan filmmakers are able to produce. And that's why Kalasha International Film and TV Awards was actually established to give filmmakers in Kenya to celebrate their achievements. So this year, we are celebrating the 11th edition of Kalasha Awards, and this will be going down this Friday, the 10th, at Safari Park Hotel, where we'll have to award about 32 categories, ranging from television, film, and also special categories. This is
television, film, special.
And special categories, yes. When I talk about special categories, we have categories that dwell on Kituo Halisi, for example, the station that promotes local content in the country. That will be awarded, and it's scientifically achieved, where Communications Authority, through their research, they are able, and monitoring, they are able to give us the station that is purely promoting a larger percentage of local content. Then we also have another category of Lifetime Achievement Award, where we award the best or the person who has contributed to the industry in a very significant way and for a very long time. That is an award that, again, the jury is mandated to provide and announce on that particular date. Yes.
Why is it important to have these awards? From where you sit, as opposed to it being an event that must happen by the commission every year or however long? Why is it important to do this?
I can confirm this morning that it is important to have the film awards for the following reasons. One, we would like to motivate filmmakers to continue telling their story. Number two, we would like to up the game in terms of the kind of quality of productions that we give the audiences in the country. And also, the awards help the film industry fraternity to actually communicate that there is an existence of the industry. There are those who are yearning to join the industry, but they've never understood. So this is a platform to communicate to the public that there is an industry that exists, and it's an industry that will be able to make a big change. Think about what are the benefits that we are likely to achieve if we have a fully fledged film industry. Cohesion and integration from film, job creation. We're talking about branding our country, and also marketing Kenya as a filming destination. So all these benefits need to be understood by all those who are key stakeholders, those who are already practicing and those who are yearning to join the industry. So Kalasha Awards provide that platform to enable the industry to understand where we are going and also to reflect on what are some of the challenges. Remember, whenever we have Kalasha Awards the way we are going to have this Friday, we have a jury that normally goes through various submissions, and they do an evaluation of the kind of quality productions that have been put on the table. We are able to identify what are the gaps, and we at Kenya Film Commission, we are in a position to address those gaps. For example, if there are technical issues, when we are undertaking our master classes and capacity development initiatives to address such issues going forward. So it's a fundamental event that we have to undertake every year, and also to reflect about all those issues that we need to address. If it's an issue of advocacy, to address them through policy making, we are able to advise the ministry and also other key stakeholders on what needs to be done. Yes.
What are you seeing? I mean, I think as one of the sectors or areas in Kenyan society right now that is extremely important is the arts. and which this falls squarely into, and that careers which can be made from the arts, an entire country then can be put on the global map through the arts. What are some of the opportunities that you're seeing with some of the entries, perhaps, that are coming out that definitely you'll be awarding? Right. What are the bigger opportunities that are lying here that can promote this, that can entrench, the arts as careers for young and even older Kenyans, that can continue to promote the country on a global scale just because of what you've seen in terms of what is being produced by Kenyans right now?
Sure. First of all, allow me to say that storytelling is big business, and Kenya cannot be left behind. And that's why we at Kenya Film Commission, it's our mantra to champion the vibrancy of Kenya's film industry. And that's why we undertake what we do in championing our mandate to achieve the real benefits that our country will be able to achieve. When I was growing up in the village, and I'll refer this to myself because I used to play games using clay. I would mold stuff and compete with the other youngsters. Today, the same games are able to be put on computer using softwares, and the same games can be actually produced, marketed, and commercialized or monetized as a way of creating wealth. So all we are saying is that there are immense opportunities in the screen industries, and that's why each one of us need to take a moment and support the industry. The opportunities are in various aspects. Remember, this is the only sector that provides you with room to employ each and everyone. We have pastors in the film industry, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have virtually everybody. So this is an industry that, with no doubt, it actually promotes all other industries.
The only qualification is talent.
The qualification is talent and passion, and also there is learning because there are technical aspects. We have engineers in this sector, we have communicators in this sector, and we also have other practitioners within this sector. In the wake of COVID-19, this is a sector that I can confirm that most organizations that deal in content had huge demands. So COVID again brought an opportunity for those who are practicing in the art sector. My take is that by promoting the film industry or the screen industries, then you promote all other sectors of the economy. Think about mining, agriculture, health, and manufacturing. The film industry actually cuts across all these sectors. When we talk about the big four, we are an enabler as a film industry. So opportunities are immense, and they cut across all sectors. Yeah. In terms of employment, it's undoubtedly clear that we can be able to employ thousands of people. I'll give an example. Just before COVID, we had a French film that was shot on location in Kenya. This production spent 400 million shillings in 3 months in this country. Just imagine if we had 20 of such films being produced on location in Kenya every year. That will give a lot of opportunities to Kenyans, and also as a marketing component for this country. So it is very clear that the opportunities that emanate from this industry cannot be compared to any other.
I want to ask you two questions.
Yes.
And thank you for opening that particular door. It's a lovely door. I'm going to walk right through it. Question number one. What is it that you, as a government institution, need to do to provide that conducive environment in which what you've just said can actually take place, where would-be investors, would-be filmmakers would feel as comfortable as they feel in South Africa, because South Africa gets a lot of this money.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
What do we need to do?
Thank you for that question. It's a very straight and great question. My response to it is that we have to create an enabling environment through the legal policy frameworks, which we are currently working on. As we speak, we have a draft policy at the ministerial level, which is meant to address funding issues, the film incentives, talking about being able to create a film-friendly environment where if a foreign filmmaker is coming into this country, this filmmaker should have an opportunity to get their equipment through the customs without hiccups. We should be able to harmonize all the filming permits in a situation where no permits are being charged by every county, the 47 counties, which means that will act as an inhibitor. So if we have a one-stop shop, which the Commission is actually working on, we'll be able to provide that kind of environment. And again, the key message here is that we want to be more competitive to our peers like South Africa and so on. Also, by attracting investment into the country, we must provide incentives to the investors so that we have mega studios that will be able to accommodate big budget films. It will be unfair for us to seek foreign producers to come and produce films here, only to come and shoot the films and go and do post-production elsewhere. That's why we are attracting facilities to be set up, and those will be done if we are able to incentivize investors into the country.
What you're saying is that there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's a lot that is going on that is heading in that direction. We've begun the journey.
I think we are in the process because we've not just
in the process of the journey or in the process of beginning the journey?
We are already on the journey.
Okay.
The reason being, already, remember we are talking about Kalasha. Kalasha would not be happening if we didn't have productions coming out of this country. There are producers who are already telling their stories, and there are many stories locally that can be told. All we need to do is to enhance so that there is high productivity of high quality products that can be able to traverse the nations. Yes.
In terms of then promoting a lot of this content in country, I see, for example, maybe what I like to call affirmative action within the sector when it became mandatory to have local content produced. So what that did is that it created a platform upon which now producers and actors and writers and, etc. then had a platform upon which their content could be aired and then would be consumed by a local population. We have a lot more now that's being produced in the country than was, let's say, 10 to 15 years ago. There was always consumption of foreign content. Now, in terms of then continuing to raise awareness of what Kenyan producers or Kenyan actors or Kenyan scriptwriters are doing, I believe that one of the greatest audiences are the ones that you have right here on home soil. What then do you think is necessary to be able to continually build awareness of what's available locally? Because then what that does is that you have local consumption of local content, and that's a revenue earner in itself.
Yes.
And you don't have to necessarily depend on these foreign productions that you're talking about. What needs to be done to create that scenario?
Thank you very much. Your question borders on the KICA Act, Kenya Information Communication Act of 2013, which provided that the Communications Authority implements the 40 to 60% local content. And the reason as to why this act was put in place is so that we promote local content in the country. And also, other than that, in marketing terms, today Kenyans want to watch stories that they can be able to resonate with. And it is very evident that the more we tell our own stories, the more they will be consumed. I'll refer to a few years back when I used to work for one of the pay TV companies, and they introduced African stories through the Africa Magic channels. That provided an opportunity where many subscribers of African origin actually bought the pay TV boxes because they were seeing now stories that they can be able to resonate with. For us, we are not left behind, and that's why at the Commission, we are championing through various programs that are geared towards enabling Kenyans to tell their own stories. And to achieve this, we have come up with the following. We are establishing what we call film hubs in regions or in counties. And these hubs are aimed at providing filmmakers an opportunity to tell their stories without having to struggle on getting equipment and so on. So this is a work in progress. Other than that, we also have audience development programs where we sensitize Kenyans on the available content because we know we are about 44 tribes in this country. And film doesn't recognize any tribe. Film is tribeless. And we encourage cohesion and integration through storytelling. When we do this, we are calling upon all Kenyans to take advantage of stories that are being told through film, to be able to provide an avenue for us to actually promote this and also ensure that we are creating job opportunities through storytelling. So to answer your question directly, we are championing this through promotion, capacity development, so that we are able to tell our stories in a quality manner, and also establishing clubs through film clubs in schools, which means that those youngsters who are well talented and they want to advance their careers through university, they are able to actually follow their path without being restricted by their parents. And this is happening by way of continuing to champion the film clubs, supporting them, providing equipment in these clubs, and also just passing the buzzword of art pays and art is a livelihood.
That's actually a very good tagline. Art pays and art is a livelihood.
Yes.
There are parents in city's generation who would never have heard anything like that.
Art
pays.
You want to study music.
Yes.
You want to play a guitar and join a band.
You want to act.
No. And that's the beginning. Meaning you want to smoke bangi and you want to be an alcoholic.
Yes.
That's what it means. 1 + 1 = 2.
I'm just giving you the array of things which were associated with the arts. Okay. Essentially, you do not want to do what other people do.
Yep.
Study for something meaningful.
Yeah.
Like education.
Something better in life. 28 minutes after 8, Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a break. We are talking about celebrating Kenya's film and TV in the 11th edition of the Kalasha International Film and TV Awards, that's going down this Friday. Our guest in the studio is Timothy Owase, the CEO of the Kenya Film Commission. Keep it right here. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making his a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA. You mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Madare, presidential tour. And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemies says, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The events of the past 2 years have seen the Christmas season lose its charm and excitement, but all that is in the past now. This December, Tis the Season is bringing back the spirit, the joy, the essence of Christmas with a Kenyan twist. Tis the Season invites you, your family and your loved ones to the Junction Mall, Nairobi on the 10th, 11th and 12th of December for Tis the Season. A very Kenyan Christmas directed by Atemi Oyungu with music by Eric Wanaina and produced by Sheba Hast. Get your tickets now on Ticket Sasa. Come one, come all, and let's make merry and have a jolly good time. All guidelines set by the Ministry of Health shall be followed.
It's still cloudy in Nairobi, going to be that way for most parts of this morning. We will see highs of 25 and lows of 15. Nakuru City is sunny at 16, highs of 26 and lows of 14. It's partly sunny at 17 in Nyeri, highs of 24 and lows of 14. Sunny conditions in Eldoret at 17, highs of 24 and lows of 12. We're looking at light rain now in Mombasa at 28. It'll go to highs of 32 and lows of 24, while it's Also raining in Malindi at 29. It'll go to highs of 32 and lows of 27. Kisumu is sunny at 22, highs of 31. We'll also see highs of 31 in Kakamega, where it's partly sunny currently at 23. Mostly cloudy conditions in Kampala at 22, highs of 29 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam is raining at 28, highs of 31 and lows of 24. We're looking at mostly cloudy conditions at 19 in Johannesburg with highs of 25. 34 will be the high. A really warm day in a mostly clear Lagos at 26. And it's mostly cloudy in Kinshasa at 24, going to highs of 31.
Spice up your life.
Mombasa Road feeding off onto North Airport Road today and then out into the eastern part of the city going then towards Pipeline. That is slowing down considerably. All right, and then somebody decided to go clog up the bypass. Why now? The bypass is the way that we are running away from traffic. Don't bring traffic there. But that's what's happening right now, and that seems to be clogged up. Industrial area continues to be a thing. Langata Road also spilling over to Raila Odinga Way. Raila Odinga Way has quite a lot of traffic today. Folks trying to run away and then clogging that up too. Huru Highway from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out through towards Westlands. Now, the CBD is a sea of vehicles today. There's a lot of traffic in and outbound, and we're seeing the Thika Superhighway today feeding off traffic well into the city, into Forest, into Wangari Maathai Road, out into the city. So that's a clog up. Westland's looking a little bit better. Folks, listen to me and use the bypass. Use it. It always helps, except for today when everybody's on Southern Bypass. Keep looking at things, guys. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
So now that we're speaking about the 11th edition of the Kalasha International Film and TV Awards, there's a show on Showmax called Crime and Justice. My goodness, you'll tell us about it, Timothy. Seriously good production. First episode stars our friend, John Sibiokumu. JSO himself. It's been nominated. It's one of the nominees in this year's Kalasha Awards. Well, let's see if it wins. Well, very many shows that you'll find that are award-winning, that have been nominated for awards, not just locally but globally, on Showmax. If you just log on to showmax.com and read for yourself the various ways in which you can subscribe to Showmax. Showmax, if you subscribe for just a month, now, you get an extra 1 month free. www.showmax.com, and you can even pay via M-Pesa. We'll be telling you more about them in the coming hours.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done
It's
right.
25 minutes to 9. Kenya's biggest conversation. Timothy Owase is the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Film Commission. We are talking about the upcoming 11th edition of the Kalasha International Film and TV Awards. So 706 entries this year. With a jury of 7 members, they broke down into 5 nominees for each category. And Timothy, you've told us there were 32 categories celebrating TV, film, and special category. Yes. And all these are then now going to be feted this Friday in terms of what they've done. Of course, we're not only looking at actors and directors. There are others that we also recognize in the awards. What are these categories about?
Thank you. First of all, let's appreciate that the film industry value chain is huge and it plays a critical role in the entire economy. I'll justify this by giving an example of a film that we funded. It's called Medicine Man. This film was shot on location in Embu County, and it's produced in Kiembu. It was premiered this last Sunday.
I saw the trailer. Serious stuff.
All I'm trying to say is that with the promotion of local film industry, we are able to inject vibrance in various ways. When this film was shot on location in Embu, one of the very first things that happened is that we had about 250 crew members, some from other parts of the country, and some were locals. The taxi drivers were able to get jobs. We had mama mbogas who had an opportunity to supply food to the hotel where this crew were staying. We also had other suppliers. So the hotel industry was also able to benefit because the crew were actually staying in this hotel and occupying various hotel rooms. So all this provides room for the industry to actually thrive and also enable the growth of the local economy. When I went to Embu, I had a mission to actually meet the governor of Embu, who is Mheshimiwa Wambora, and we talked about that particular film. And by way of going through the benefits the Embu County was actually gaining from this production, he was able to appreciate the need for each county in this country to promote film. So we are currently working with the 47 counties to see to it that each county is able to budget for film every financial year. Because if we left the film industry to be funded only at the national level, then we'll be missing the mark and also creating a gap which is not necessary. We need to be able to champion the growth of the film industry by enabling every aspect of the value chain in many ways. So going back to the film awards, yes, we are funding film so that we are able to celebrate the kind of productions at every end of the year, like we are doing this Friday. So this year we had various entries. As you mentioned, 7 or 6 were the submissions. And out of that, they are classified into 3 categories. We have special categories, which will have the Kituo Halisi. We'll also have the Lifetime Achievement Award. Other than that, we have awards in the TV category and film category. All this will go down by being awarded to specific winners who've been selected by the jury, who had the 70% of the selection. Then the public had 30% in determining who are the winners for this year. And as we award these filmmakers or the winners, I also needed to underscore the fact that they are not only going home with the trophy, but they're also going with a cash token in addition to the trophy that they are going to receive this Friday. So the benefits and within the film industry value chain runs from the story writing all the way to production and also distribution. All these are jobs that are provided within the film industry value chain. So my rallying call is all about each one of us taking an initiative to support the sector. As the government works on putting a framework to be able to support the development and growth of this sector. Yes.
Timothy,
yes.
I like what you're saying. It's almost music to my ears. However,
yes,
we focus on the success stories. But out of the success stories, there are very many people who fall by the wayside, meaning they make the attempt, they don't quite meet the master, but they keep trying. They have their production, they try and sell it to media houses such as this one. Some succeed, some don't. Now, since this is your docket and this is something that you do,
yes,
what do you tell these individuals?
They should not give up. And also, just to emphasize that government is there to facilitate each one of us because that's the duty of government. When it comes to media houses, I think there is one missing link that we've always had. Media houses are broadcasters. I've never understood why broadcasters decided to take up the role of producers. Many houses in the country play a role of production. You do productions for your own broadcasts. Why can't we have a situation where there is a demand-driven operation where broadcasters actually buy content from my producers? Let producers be the suppliers of content to these broadcasters.
Timothy, you're the government.
Yes.
Yes.
But you know, this is a free market trade area.
So you wanted to be forced?
No. Not that I wanted to be forced. I mean, by the time we're doing something, it means there's a gap.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why the legal framework amendment will be able to solve that, because we need a situation where the producer is able to negotiate with the buyer of content on a buyer-seller agreement level, other than the buyer is the producer.
You know,
that is our weakness.
You opened one door previously, you opened another one. You said the government is there to assist. Yes. Okay. How does the government assist, and how does somebody get to a point where they can receive this assistance?
That's why Kenya Film Commission was established, and today our doors are open. We are funding programs from the year 2019. Unlike before, today producers are able to actually apply for grants from government through Kenya Film Commission. That is one way of supporting the film industry. For those whom you are saying that they are not able to progress because they are not able to get markets, we also have established the Kalasha International Film and TV Market, which takes place every year during the month of March. And why is this important? It's important because we would like to attract buyers or distributors to come into this country and be able to meet our content producers. We know that we cannot carry each and every producer from this country to Cannes or to Sundance, but we can be able to create our own space where those buyers from Sundance and Berlinale can be able to come here and interact with our producers.
You read my mind. I was actually going there. Yes, I was actually going to ask you about that, because how do you produce a Cannes or Sundance situation here? Because we are known for many positive things.
Correct.
Kenya is attractive enough. As a travel hub, it's probably one of the busiest on the continent.
Agreed.
So, we already have an advantageous position.
Correct. That's why the Kalasha International Film and TV Market was actually put in place. And we're also championing an increased promotion of quality productions in the country, so that the kind of stories that we tell are able to appeal to the international market. Remember, if we told stories that are not resonating with the audiences, then that will be a weakness. We are currently also looking at a situation where statistical data is actually mainstreamed to the national statistics. For many years, Kenya has not had, through Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, has not had an opportunity to collect data that is relevant to this sector. This financial year, Kenya Film Commission, in partnership with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, we are coming up with what we call Film Industry Satellite Account, meaning every time you will be able to get the kind of data that you need. For example, how many women are operating the film industry? How much are we contributing to the exchequer, to the GDP in general? And how many productions are actually done on location in Kenya, both local and international, be they documentaries, feature films, series, and so on. The kind of funding that Kenya receives from either foreign productions or local productions. All these things are things that the Kenya Film Commission is actually doing. And just to overemphasize, Kenya Film Commission was actually established to play the role of promoting the film industry. So any filmmaker out there, or an aspiring one, who would like to know how to operate within the film industry, then our doors are open. I just encourage them to join us. You can reach us through our social media tools. Our Twitter account is Kenya Filmcom. Our Facebook is Kenya Film Commission, and Instagram. And we are available to assist in every way. Yes.
You know, there's a lot of support that has gone into, like you said, production of TV documentaries, film, feature films. But then there's still a lot more that can still be done. And this is why I want to ask, what's that ecosystem looking like, and what the role of the Kenya Film Commission has been in developing that ecosystem? I'm looking at a situation where a production house has been established and it gets local investors, people who just put in money and they know they are investing into something. They'll get their shareholders into it. They'll be getting dividends after a while. But this organization has money to finance its own productions and to finance its marketing and distribution. Do we have something like that?
Thank you for raising that question. First of all, remember this is an IP-related industry. So copyright and intellectual property components are very critical. We are championing filmmakers to appreciate why copyright issues are critical. And by sensitizing the industry and being able to understand that their wealth is in their copyright, then it's possible to attract investors into the sector. We're also working with the Kenya Bankers Association to see to it that we are able to open up the banking institutions to the film industry, so that you as a filmmaker assuming today you got an LPO from Showmax, and it requires you to get, let's say, 50 million shillings to start your project. Are you able to walk into a local bank to get funding to start your project? So if we have a credit guarantee scheme, then that is one way of opening up that space, and this is work in progress that we are doing. Other than that, within the proposed legal framework for the industry in Kenya, we are going to establish what we call a film fund. A film fund, like it's been done in other jurisdictions, will be able to enable key productions and Kenyan stories to be told in a way that has never been done before. So all this is work in progress, and I can assure you that we are progressing well, and we are very clear on our mark.
You mentioned the film fund. It reminds me of the sports fund.
Yes.
Are there plans to safeguard and ring fence this fund from other long hands?
Eric, you also reminded me of the youth fund.
The sports fund is actually there. It was established where money goes into this particular pool for the development and support of sport in the country.
An excellent idea.
There have been very many questions whether this fund is actually being used for the intended purposes. Now we talk about the film fund. Are we going to ring fence this to make sure that the only way this money can be withdrawn from the fund if it's going to the intended purpose and not to support, payment of salary somewhere?
I think that's very clear, and I will use an example of our current small grant that we issue to the filmmakers. We have a clear criteria where if you are able to tick all the boxes and you have a business plan, we are able to fund you to produce your content. And world over, when you look at how film funds are managed, I think that's one of the key ways on how government can be able to support the development and growth of a vibrant film industry. I would like to see a situation where it is legislated that, let's say, on a Friday afternoon, from 2 o'clock, we are left to go home to just go and watch movies like it's done in other countries like France. If we create such a culture, then we should be able to create more jobs, have more money coming from this sector to construct our roads and other infrastructural developments.
Sure.
There's something else, sorry, just a final one here. The issue of intellectual property.
Yes.
Okay. It's a big one.
Correct.
Everybody who's participating in this assumes that there's somebody who owns the IP and they don't know who. Is there more increased awareness? So you've talked about, let's say, a production house, a broadcaster is commissioning a producer. Who owns the IP? Do the actors have a say in it? Is there a vibrant awareness creation so we don't get to a point where people are saying, I own a piece of this?
There is a chain of intellectual property ownership. When we talk about content ownership, anytime a broadcaster is engaging a producer or a seller of content, the rights have to be established as who is the rightful owner of this content. And that's why the kind of awareness that we are doing in partnership with the other government agencies like Kenya Copyright Board and also World Intellectual Property Organization, that is WIPO, we are working together to create that sensitization so that artists know their rights, and also just empowering the local filmmakers in a way that when we have strong associations, for example, you mentioned actors, whether they have a stake in any production. As an actor or actress, if you feature in a production, anytime you appear, there is what we call royalties. And all those have to be understood that there are institutions that are actually mandated to collect royalties on behalf of artists and give a paycheck at the end of the year. This, of course, will be able to grow much if the filmmakers are also able to organize themselves, have very organized film associations that are very strong to determine various elements. Also, I need to go to issues of payment. How do we ensure that filmmakers have specific rate cards in terms of what they earn from the work they do? Anytime you are being contracted to participate in a production, then you know that as a lead actor, this is what I qualify to earn. That can be achieved when we have strong guilds and associations. And that is all that we are championing to see to it that we're able to achieve this. Other than that, the aspects of artists' rights, how do we ensure that filmmakers are able to get a collective medical cover, insurance aspects. So we are engaging NHIF through the Ministry of Health. We're also engaging what we call the Insurance Regulatory Authority, so that issues of insurance for the sector is also addressed. So there is a lot that is going on that within time we should be able to achieve and have a vibrant film industry in Kenya.
You talk about, almost again, trying to make sure that the Kenyan populace, the locals, are watching this content that is produced. Ever think of ideas whereby, for example, the Commission has designated cinemas across the country, for example, whereby new films are coming out at whatever intervals, but then what you're doing is that you're offering these films for showing at a lowered price. And I'm talking around the country, not just in Nairobi, so that, number one, people have something for entertainment. Number two, they're also then aware that this content is coming from Kenyan producers, Kenyan actors and Kenyan writers, so that across the country, what you're doing is that you're proliferating these talents and people then are aware what's happening and they have something for entertainment at the same time. Do such things feature in plans?
Yes, thank you. Under our audience development program, we do mobile cinema. And the essence of the mobile cinema is to enable Kenyans to see themselves featuring in these productions. And the more they are able to see their young stars in the local productions, the more we embed and our parents get to appreciate that actually film is business. So I like what you are saying, but at the same time, I'm calling upon investors to look at an opportunity, because lack of cinemas in the country is a gap that investors can actually be able to plug into, to invest into this and have this as a business opportunity. Of course, government to provide incentives towards that end so that we have cinemas in each and every county. We are currently running what we call mobile cinema through drive-ins because of COVID. And this, of course, also calls for investors to take up the challenge and run with it, because it's one way of being able to create wealth. So it's a huge area that we have to put a concerted effort, both as government and the private sector. And of course, anytime film productions are being made, it's also good to note that film is a business. We cannot just wake up and produce and tell or assume that the film will be able to sell itself. One has to come up with a business plan, know exactly whom you are producing your content for, so that you price it well, package it, and also brand it properly. So we are saying that just like in manufacturing, film is actually a business like any other. We must be able to operate and serve it in a very structured manner.
Timothy, we thank you very much for joining us today. Timothy Owase is the CEO of the Kenya Film Commission. We've been talking about the 11th edition of the Kalasha International Film and TV Awards going down this Friday, like you said, at Safari Park Hotel.
This will be at Safari Park Hotel, and just to let our audiences know that they will have an opportunity to follow this event live on KTN from 7:30 p.m.
From 7:30 p.m. on KTN, you'll be able to watch this and catch. So, tickets?
It's an invite only because of COVID. So for those who won't be able to get their tickets, should be able to follow the event online on our social media tools as well as on KTN.
Okay. I think watching it on TV is good enough. We are used to that. So KTN home on Friday at 7:30 p.m. You'll be watching the 11th edition of the Kalasha International Film and TV Awards. Ndu Okoh will be on the red carpet. Yeah, you'll be able to see her then. Thank you very much to our audience on KTN Home for watching us this morning. Join us again tomorrow morning. But the conversations continue on SpiceFM in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri and Malindi, and also across the globe. In the next hour, we ask ourselves, should corporal punishment be reintroduced? The CS for Education has raised that as a subject. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles, they are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room.
Yes.
Kenya's biggest conversation.
Be sure to watch the Kalasha International Film and TV Awards, then going down this Friday. One of my good friends, Eddie Kimani, has been nominated, and I voted for him. I'm one of the 30% audience votes.
You are?
Yeah, that should be considered.
Okay. For what?
For what Eddie has been nominated
You
for.
should be considered.
Meaning
Yes.
he shares in the award.
My
Should Eddie
vote
get it?
counts.
It does count.
Shaya. What did you call that thing? Kea?
Share.
Share.
Yes.
Okay. See, I'm a good student.
You are an extremely good student.
Yeah, some very, very good productions that have been done also around this particular year. David Waronja Mwanga, Ngwatilo Mawio, Joy's Garden, Michelle Donde and Steph Sevani, House of Secrets, Dolapo Adeleke, Just in Time, Eric Okwaro, Fikirini, and many others. And seeing the kind of productions that we are now seeing, the kind of development. In fact, Kenyan films being filmed on local movie theaters. Remember Monique Angelique Bet? Her film, a film that she featured in, Nafsi, has been showing on the big screen.
You know, one of the things that perhaps indicates even a great success of what Timothy is doing is when you look at the proliferation of local content on our TV screens.
Yes.
It has continued to increase and it has an audience.
And the quality keeps improving.
Yes. But that's what competition does for you.
That's a good thing. Yes. And that's a very good thing. So we hope to see more and more of this. It's a good thing. Like he said, it's not just employing the actors, the actresses, and the cameramen and the directors. It has a big impact on the entire economy. Kenya's biggest conversation, it continues in the next hour, and we'll open up the phone lines for this particular debate, 0719-012-600. Should corporal punishment be reintroduced in our schools? Education CS Professor Magoha is not going round about this. He says, it's about time. These people have just become delinquents. They have no discipline, and we need to reintroduce discipline. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Police officers are investigating the circumstances that led to the shooting of 6 people in Kangemi in Nairobi County by a police officer. The said officer also turned the gun on himself. It is reported that the officer, who has been serving in Kabete, shot the 6, including Boda Boda operators. Newswire will be following up on this developing story and update you throughout our subsequent bulletins. Now, a major British study into mixing COVID-19 vaccines has found that people had a better immune response when they received the first dose of AstraZeneca or Pfizer BioNTech shots, followed by Moderna 9 weeks later, according to the results released Monday. The findings supporting a flexible dosing will offer some hope to poor and middle-income countries, which may need to combine different brands between first and second shots if supplies run low or become unstable. If the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine is followed by a Moderna or Novavax shot, higher antibodies and T-cell responses were induced versus 2 doses of AstraZeneca Oxford, according to researchers at the University of Oxford. Now, Kenyans have been advised to be on the lookout on well-crafted fraudulent shopping scams as the festive season approaches. A majority of Kenyans believed to be in their thousands have fallen prey to these scammers, leaving them counting losses even as detectives seek to bring them to book. While issuing a warning on the fraud scheme, the DCI said that scammers have devised new ways through social media sites such as Instagram, Facebook and Twitter to target gullible Kenyans. The DCI noted that many Kenyans, especially ladies shopping for trendy outfits and jewelry, have fallen victim and lost their money through such frauds. Now, warrant of arrest has been issued against 2 directors of Palmer Holdings Limited for failing to appear in court and answer charges of unpaid taxes amounting to 2.2 billion shillings. The warrant of arrest were issued by Chief Magistrate Felix Kombo after Mary Wambui Mugai and Purity Njoki Mungai failed to honor court summons on the same by the Kenya Revenue Authority. The two face 8 counts of knowingly and or unlawfully omitting taxes due to the income tax returns submitted to the Commissioner for Domestic Taxes for the period between 2014 and 2020. Nearly 1 million boda operators in the country are to undergo a crash training program in road safety in a government drive to instill order in the sector. The training that will be rolled out from February next year will also train the riders in first aid, with recipients obtaining certification in an exercise involving Interior Ministry, the National Transport and Safety Authority and the National Youth Service. Interior Principal Secretary Dr. Karanja Kibisha further announced the slashing of the 3-year driver's license fee for the nearly 1.4 million operators from the current 3,500 to 1,050. Provisional licenses will also be zero-rated during the RRI program window that will end on May 31, 2022 to incentivize as many of the operators as possible to have valid papers. And rainfall is expected to continue over several parts of the country, including the highlands east of the Rift Valley, the southern eastern lowlands and the coast. According to the Kenya Meteorological Department 7-day weather forecast, occasional isolated storms are likely over parts of the highlands east of the Rift Valley, the southern eastern lowlands and the coastal strip. Parts of the Lake Victoria Basin, central and south Rift Valley and northeastern Kenya are also likely to receive occasional rainfall. Northwestern region is likely to remain sunny and dry. Strong southeasterly winds with speeds exceeding 12.9 meters per second are expected over some parts of northwestern and northeastern Kenya. The weatherman has also given precaution to counties which have already witnessed heavy rainfall. Now, 6 countries, including the United States, say they are profoundly concerned about reports that the Ethiopian government is carrying out mass detentions based on ethnicity and without charge. The Ethiopian government, November 2nd, declared a state of emergency as rebel forces from the Tigray region began approaching the capital Addis Ababa following a year-long war with government forces. Ethiopia's government says it is detaining people suspected of supporting the Tigray rebels. But human rights groups, including the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Amnesty International and Ethiopia's own Human Rights Commission, report widespread arrest of ethnic Tigrayans, including Orthodox priests, older people and mothers caring for children. Now, the Biden administration will not send any diplomatic representatives to the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing as a statement against Chinese human rights abuses in Xinjiang. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the administration was sending a clear message that the human rights abuses in China mean there cannot be business as usual. Psaki added that Team USA had the administration's full support, but that the administration would not be contributing to the fanfare of the game. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
There's a lot of traffic in most parts of the city this morning. It's not dying down on Mombasa Road, not in the least. The Southern Bypass looking a little bit better, but the Likoni interchange there's taking up some traffic this morning. Industrial area quite packed. That whole circuit of Jogoo Road, Lunga, quite some traffic, guys. This is all the way from Donholm out then towards Likoni Road today. Langata Road looking a little bit better. Just a tad of traffic right around the roundabout as you get towards Timor, or then you're going the other direction towards Raila Odinga Way at the roundabout then of the City Mortuary. That's all right. Where you find the most traffic this morning is on Uhuru Highway, all the way through to the city. It's connecting then with Wangari Maathai Road all the way to the Thika Superhighway. Looks crazy right about now, guys. Also, Limuru Road, ebbing and flowing in traffic, but that has built up yet again. We're still in traffic hour. Let's see what it looks like in a short while. It's not too crazy, though, but some spots where it's heavy. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The only
It's 7
way
minutes
to
after
start.
9. Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to the final hour of the day's show. Tuesday, the 7th day of December, 2021. Baba.
Kila changamoto inayokuumiza inakufundisha kuwa bora zaidi ya ulivyokuwa.
Kila changamoto
wajua kile kinachokuumiza haswa, okay? Inakufundisha kuwa bora zaidi kuliko vile ulivyokuwa.
Our friend in South Africa would like a translation of that to English.
No, that is perfectly all right. Every challenge that causes you difficulties or pain simply helps you improve so that you can become better than you previously were.
Okay. Yes. But you know why changamoto is one of the most popular words in Luoland?
It's a compound word, and it has moto at the end of it.
Changamoto.
Moto.
And for lawyers, it's Kwaminajili. Kwaminajili.
Sorry, what?
Kwaminajili. So, let's have this conversation, okay? So, yesterday, the Education CS, accompanied by the Internal Security, Interior and Coordination of National Government, CS, who is a former Education CS, were going around and they were touring Egentoto Primary School in South Mugirango constituency in Kisii County. That's where they were. Egentoto Primary School. Are we together? They both advocated for the reintroduction of corporal punishment in schools to bring back sanity. What had we read in the news yesterday? We had read in the news yesterday that, despite all these things, ministry says, okay, it's pressure. Kids need to go for half term. Give them half term. They come back. We're still finding some schools where there's unrest being reported. Maranda High School, a national school. Students just said, we want to go home. There's a school where we read where a teacher and a student were arrested because the teacher and the student are said to have been the ones who organized a riot, and they were planning to cause some damage to the school property. So all these things, what is happening? We discussed this earlier and we said there's some sense of, okay, one, indiscipline. Two, there's the whole issue of communication. Are there proper channels of communication between the teachers, the school administration, and the students? Is this all about lack of communication, or is it some sense of entitlement as well that goes into it? Is it about indiscipline? Is it about time, like the two CSs are saying, who have actually dealt with this ministry for a number of years now, are saying, from what we are seeing, I think we need to go back into making sure that there's something that hangs over the heads of the pupils and students as they think about what they want to do in school. And this is corporal punishment, to serve as a deterrent and to serve as something to inject discipline. Should we reintroduce corporal punishment in school? CT, you are taking us back into history on the era of corporal punishment and the era post-corporal punishment. What led to the abolition of corporal punishment?
Well, it was just the rethinking of the education system and what needs to be done and how it is you probably need to keep up with modern trends. But whenever you make such a drastic change in your system, there has to be accompanying adjustments. Now, I get now to talk about something I talk about all the time. We didn't accompany this procedure by asking ourselves how it is we selected our teachers and what we demanded of them. Teaching, for the best part, was the course that you're given for many people when you couldn't get what you wanted. And yet the demands of the profession just kept increasing and increasing and increasing. Classrooms kept getting bigger. And then there was the understanding that when you removed corporal punishment, for many people, essentially, they believed you had removed discipline. Because corporal punishment, as far as they were concerned, that was the way that people, errant students, would be what? Brought back in line.
Yes.
Now, if you also look at the problem of discipline, you cannot talk about student indiscipline and look at teacher indiscipline as well. In many of the cases, when you have a problem in school, you will find that there is a teacher or some teachers behind those problems somewhere. These are people who take activism and give it the most negative possible tinge that you possibly can. They may not be there throwing petrol bombs at anything, but the mind that is introduced that enables a student to think that such things are possible. Unless you're telling me that there are people who come from their homes with a mind that when they get to school, they're going to be burning down the school. There are external influences, but the greatest influence to a student, whether it is positively or deterrently negative, happens to be the people who actually teach them on a daily basis. And in many regards, these individuals have more time with these students than even their parents do.
So you think if there's negative influence, then it's most likely coming from the teachers?
The teachers play their part. In the school, they play a very important part. They'll keep saying it is the parents, the way they brought them up and so forth. No. Students at a certain age and time listen to their teachers more than they do to their parents.
Yes. And then they get to a certain age where they start now rationalizing their rights and all.
Start balancing it.
And they start balancing. And when they see that there is a balance of power and the power is more on the parent and this teacher is disempowered, then it doesn't matter the influence that the teacher has. If the teacher is trying to instill discipline, the child just looks and says,
the child knows
you're powerless.
The child knows this teacher is powerless. And also, where the parents are to blame, there's this concept of what I refer to as modern parenting, where parents, again, in trying to understand the rights and dealing with these modern ideas and times and norms, would take the side of the child. Now, I'm going to say something that may not necessarily chime well, but it's in lieu of the responsibilities that they have abrogated. So you then compensate by siding with the child. So every time an issue is brought to you regarding your child, if it's negative, the child is right and the teacher is wrong. And the question is, of all the students in the school, for heaven's sake, why would they pick yours? Why yours?
This is very interesting that you say this, because just a couple of days ago, right? I keep giving you the example of my 11-year-old daughter. A couple of days ago, she said, Mom, how come we're not going on a school trip? So I was like, okay, I don't know. If there's one in the schedule, we'll be told, and then you'll go on the trip, whatever. It'll be done. 2 days later, she says the same thing. Mom, I think it's about, we should actually, maybe you ask the school, how come we're not going on school trips? Because we want to be able to see other parts of the country. So I said to myself, there's something going on here, because for her to ask like that in rapid succession. So that story died. Saturday, this child said to me again, Mom, you know what? We should have a school trip. So I said, okay, I'm here. What's going on?
Tell me.
Okay. Mr. Nelson told us to ask you guys as our parents why we've not gone on school trips. Tell your parents to tell the school administration that you guys want to go for school trips. Verbatim what the child said to me. And then our social studies teacher...
the kid was doing homework.
Our social studies teacher also told us the same thing, that we should come and tell our parents that it's about time we went on a school trip. Now, take something as innocent as a school trip, right? Where a teacher is able to tell his or her students, go and tell your parents that they should come and tell the school administration that you people want to go on school trips. Who accompanies children on school trips?
Teachers.
Teachers.
Do they not get something that...
And it's not one teacher.
So you can imagine the influence that teachers have over students.
That's a
right?
nice one.
11-year-old child also knows at that point, this teacher, they don't, just like you said, they don't have power. So at some point in the near future, that thing can be very well abused because you can go to the administration.
Yeah.
This teacher who's been hired by the administration, actually, we are the ones who
We're
have
the ones
power
who got the school trip, not the teacher.
Do you see?
But they'll figure that one out.
Oh, yes. Very, very quickly.
Let's
But
talk
what
to
am
one
I
of the
saying?
teachers.
But what am I saying? The influence is real, whether it is negative or positive, that teachers can speak to students and get them to do something. So where is the indiscipline? Only in the hands of the students? I don't think so.
Or in the hands of the parents?
I don't think so.
The indiscipline is in the hands of the kids. We need to bring it back there. Mwalimu Teddy.
Good morning, Eric.
Good morning to you, Mwalimu. How are you?
Ndu and my elder brother.
Good morning.
Your elder brother is fine, and thank you for calling.
How is Voi?
Yes, I would like to begin by saying that I basically and highly recommend the same, following the reasons that we should realize where the rain began beating us when we actually advocated for activism and the freedom of the child, notwithstanding the fact that in the near future it will have some repercussions and some problems. And as I may say, I believe in caning, or rather I believe in a little bit capital punishment, because a child, either be at school or home, in whatever kind of a procedure punished, it is biblical. So the saying that goes by spare the rod and spoil the child is actually actualized at that particular point. We were caned, Eric. In fact, I am a good example. I was caned, and I'm a good person. I am a good citizen today.
Mwalimu, there's the argument that City has raised.
Yes.
The most influential person to a child at that age is a person that they spend a lot of time with, and this is a teacher. Do you agree?
Yes. I do agree, but also remember, for the success of any child, there ought to be a three pillar, that is the student, the parent, and the teacher. So however, how much you'll try to distance yourself, still we have not made up the three cornerstones that will build the character of this kid.
Mwalimu Teddy, can I ask you a question, please?
There's a concept of monkey see, monkey do. These kids tend to pick characters right from home and then come and duplicate them right in school via their friends through a concept of peer group influence.
Mwalimu, could I ask you a question, please?
Yes, please.
In the days when there was no social media, there were no smartphones and all this influence in the media, what you're saying was absolutely true, without a question of a doubt, because influences were limited to the home and to the peers or the people that this particular child interacted with. Right now, we have other influences, and social media plays a very, very key role in this. However, the question I want to ask is, when a student comes to school and they have errant behavior which they've picked from home, what then is the role of the teacher? And do teachers actually play the role, as they say in Latin, in loco parentis? Are they there instead of the parents for the students? Do you find this to be true of the teaching profession and the teachers in this current day?
My brother, let me tell you the truth. As you're putting it, we have actually transformed from the old pre-campus period. We are in the new era. But I want to tell you for sure, when a case of a sort comes up and the current parent is called to school to handle a discipline issue of the son or the daughter, I'll tell you it's quite disappointing and surprising that even that parent will not turn up. So what do you take of it? Right? What do you take of it?
Teddy, in the previous decade, in the previous century,
I try to give the best.
Yes.
But the parents should also stand and anishike mkono ndio tusaidie mtoto wake. Exactly.
Teddy, I was going to say that in the previous century, I was in a similar position to yours. I have been a teacher. I've even been a head teacher.
Exactly.
And you're talking about parents not coming. I have come across students who hire actors to come and present themselves as the parents.
Exactly.
Yes. Personally, I thought that imagination was excellent. I mean, directed wrongly, but I applauded the effort. I mean, this was clear. I saw 2 cases in the time I was a headmaster. These are clearly children who had the imagination or had the wherewithal to be able to get assistance and ideas of how to solve a complex problem like that one of bringing a parent. Okay? Now, such a student needs to be directed so that energy can go into something a little more productive because they're clearly clever and they're clearly creative. The question I'm asking...
My brother, let me...
Yes.
If I may come in,
Please come in.
It happened that way because these students knew very well. Their parents are so strict to a point that when they came to school...
To be worse.
The type of punishment that they could be given, it was so severe. So the best thing we would have thought of is to get someone who will actually try to compromise with the aspect of the discipline.
Yep.
So you realize that the kids of today, as much as they're more smarter, whatever has made them even more smarter to that particular extent is the invention of technology and what have you. And that's why we are saying discipline is a concept of 3 entities.
So if we introduce corporal punishment,
yes,
does it solve this quagmire that we are in?
Thank you. Eric, at this point in time, I'll tell you, there are kids who have never even been given a slippers the way our mothers used to beat us with slippers. So the moment you take that cane, at least 3 for the rod, I'm sure that you'll get some difference and you'll get some discipline out of them. Yes.
Thank you very much, Teddy.
Thank you so much.
Asante. 0719-012-600. Do you support the call for the reintroduction of corporal punishment in our schools? So if you cane the kids in school and then at home you're still calling them kababa, does it help?
But you know, when caning is spoken of corporal punishment, the image it conjures up is that of a child molester and somebody who takes great joy in inflicting a great deal of pain on a child. Yet, the entire idea behind the cane, as we call it, it wasn't something that was meted on you when you made a mistake. It was something that eventually came to you after you had been warned on several occasions and you had been told and the situation explained to you. And you didn't heed. That is when now the cane was introduced. I remember as a headmaster, I had 3 bamboo canes.
In your office?
Yes, 3. There was a slim, small one, something like around 2 feet. There was a medium-sized one and there was a fairly large one. And when I asked, I was told, this depends. Those who are going to get 2, get with this one. 3, this one. And those who are getting 6. You know, when you get 6, you're on your way home.
Yes. For goodness sake.
You're what they call a repeat offender. Okay? But you also find that even with the cane, if you took the time to understand why these children who are errant, because the class teachers will tell you, student XYZ is this way inclined. You know, I keep bringing the teachers. The students know each other and they know those among them who are hoodlums. They know people who are given not just to mischief, but to harm. When the teacher has good rapport with the students will tell you. They'll find a way of communicating to you that so-and-so is doing this, so-and-so is planning this. Now, when teachers are caught unawares, or the school administration is caught unawares, what you're being told is that the relationship between this school administration and the teachers and the student body is
broken.
Is off.
It's broken.
It's a broken telephone.
Go back to the phone lines. George in Kisumu, good morning.
Morning.
How are you, George?
I'm fine, thank you.
To cane or not to cane?
No, not to cane. I think you guys, I'll change the tables. I'm one of the guys who was very rebellious in secondary. And just to change the tables, we are dealing with the problem, but what is the root cause? hawa watoto walitoka wapi? Where did he come from? There's a primary school there. Watoto wanapelekwa everywhere, as in, you know how we take care of the kids wakiwa dogo.
Yep.
Let's try and find what's the root cause. Because all the secondary school guys walitoka wapi? What is their background? If you're applying for a job, they'll go and research your background, watafute gay alifanya nini, alikuwa na shida, alikuwa na criminal issue. So to me, I see it is more of the primary bringing up of the child before being enrolled in the secondary school. There's some issues we need to pick. We need to really look at the root cause before issuing about what's the problem. I'll not mention the school. I'm from one of the schools where within 3 months they burnt down the dormitory and everything. After just joining again, wamechoma again. They're going back home again.
So what's the issue?
The issue is about the root cause. Watoto walitoka wapi? The primary school. Everything is changing. If I go back to my secondary school, the same headmaster was there, the same system was there. They need to restructure everything. They need to change.
Well, you can't, George, because you've told us you were one of those.
I was really caned. I'm telling you, my dad was caning me. They can.
And that in school?
And that it made me very rebellious. At school, it was even what?
Did you just say that your dad caning you made you more rebellious?
That's very true. So if you bring the cane, kids would be very rebellious, and they'll look for a way just to revenge it back.
All right,
by banning and doing everything here. So no caning. Let's look at the root cause. Let's try and restructure our system, especially in secondary school. Kama watoto wanataka funkies on Sunday or any time, give them brain, wapewe. That's it. Let's listen to them, because whatever they've brought up from the primary school, it's how they brought up.
Okay. Thank you, George.
I'm going. Thank you. Cheers. You guys are doing wonders. I love the show. And say hi to the big brother.
The big brother receives your greetings and thanks you.
Cheers.
Brian in Nakuru, good morning. Brian?
Morning.
Morning.
We are in Nakuru. We are fine. Thank you for this. Now we are at city status right
Nakuru
now.
City.
Yeah. Right now. So when you should say Brian from Nakuru City.
Very good. Okay. Correction made. Brian from Nakuru City. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, people. Now the issue is this kid should be caned. Hey, my dad was a teacher, and I was really caned. Okay, the issue about arson, I can testify to it. I've been in it.
Been in it in terms of you participated in organizing arson?
The guy will look for me if I testify.
Yes, they will.
But I have been in a situation where school dome was banned, and the police came, took us to cell. We were contained for 2 days after they were investigating their things. And then others went to court. We were released. But you get what really leads to this assault to happen most of the time. It's not that we say the system or stuff like that, or caning or stuff like that. Sometimes we have some rotten tomatoes in the good tomatoes. And these rotten tomatoes are the ones which usually make sure the good tomatoes
they spoil the rest.
I want to ask you a question. Hypothetically speaking, of course, knowing that you haven't actually been involved in arson, what would you say, since you were in a situation where a school dome got burnt? What is the thinking behind it? And the children, because they are children, or the young people who are behind it, what was their thinking? Why did they decide to do this?
Okay, like in our case, we were in school in Joro. and they had changed and got us a new principal. And this principal used to be tough, my friend. I remember one of the incidents, he used to wear like a student can come and sit in the dorm. And when in the evening after prep, you guys will come, you talk, after the next day, you do in the morning. If you wonder how to give them, so the guy came there with new rules, making life bad stuff. And me coming there, imagine I was a new I transferred, come from another school with another issue. So when I came to this school here now, I found out these guys, they have a new principal and the principal is tough on them. And the time we used to have mock exams. So the Form 3 never wanted to participate in the mock exam. And once they don't want to participate in the mock exams, they know come what may. There was a belief that if you fail in the mocks, you will fail in the KCSE. So they rather not see their scores. Let's wait for KCSE. So the system was a bit tough. There was the issue of the exams. The academics were a bit high. And I'm telling you, like the people, most of them who were involved in the arson thing, even like they had a background issue, like self-esteem issues, they want to realize stuff. Like people are suffering from a lot.
So if you cane them, do you help that situation?
Hey, you cane me, baby. What saved my life is caning. Let me tell you.
Was there a resolution of those after us? Those issues, whatever they may be, how deeply rooted they were. The incident of caning, did it solve those issues?
Okay,
because we're saying that people behave in a certain manner, they act out, etc., because of other issues that are going. That's the root cause of those issues. Now, beating this person or caning this individual because they're acting as a result of those issues, does it solve the problem?
Okay, you know, one thing about caning is when you are caned, it reaches a point where a guy you get immune.
You're immune, isn't it?
What's the worst that can get? We just cane and leave me. He can't do anything. So when it reaches at that point, that's when caning becomes useless. You get it? But the others who cane, you shall not cane. When you cane them once, they'll hear. You get it?
But it doesn't deal with the issue. This is what we're saying. It doesn't deal with the issue. It can be a temporary stopgap measure, but it doesn't solve the problem.
You know, like let me say something like me in my high school, us we were bullied. When we from 1, from 2, hey my friend, from 1 year we had to be seen, not to be heard. That's when our bullying was kind of ending. And when you go and report a Form 4, you're called a snitch. Life will become even harder. But you find, from all those things, yes, it was something bad, it was something. But even the bullying, like, kind of taught us what life is. Like, you see, like, kids nowadays are soft. Something hard, little commit suicide.
It's happened to you.
It's everywhere. They're getting kids. They're getting kids giving birth to kids.
Okay,
so
Brian.
Thank
you, Brian. Thank you. Say hello to other people in the city of Nakuru.
Watu wa Nakuru mnasalimiwa, na ita wetu tunaitengeneza tu mzuri. Kenya njui tunamwombea, anafanya manjuu. God bless Nakuru, God bless Kenya.
Asante. Let's go to Tala. Mweni.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, I've lost my voice. I've been unwell.
Ole sana.
But it's not COVID.
Okay.
Thank God.
Yeah, although my twins, I have identical twins, actually quarantined me.
Your twin quarantined you?
Yeah, they did. I have some brilliant twins, actually. We started performing at the age of 4.
Yeah.
Now,
okay.
I've been listening to you, though. I remember, I'll take you back a bit. I remember you had a problem with Kunde.
Yes.
The name for Kunde is cowpeas.
Yes.
We solved that.
As opposed to pigeon peas.
It's not beans.
No, it's not. It's cowpeas. I want to ask you a question. How come there is no banning at Alliance High School, Loretta Limuru, Limuru Girls, Manu? How come? You should ask yourselves. These are people who know the value of education. The real national schools. I'm a product of one of them. Sorry to say.
Why are you
there
sorry?
Are those because I don't want to blow my
You don't
trumpet
say
so
I
loud.
went to Alliance. It's okay.
No, I was in Loretta Limuru, please. What would I be doing at Alliance?
Yeah, Chokserians. We know Chokserians. Okay, go on.
Yeah, I'm a quotation. Now, that you know, with the emphasis on academics and not all-round education, that's why we're having these problems. And I believe that the persons to blame are the teachers because they are incompetent. They only drill machines to pass exams. They do not impart knowledge. There's a difference between education and literacy. These kids are just drilled to be literate to pass exams. But they are not educated to know the value. And somebody goes to school knowing why they are going there. So I'll mention Miranda, for example, supposed to be performing well. But really that is only academics. It's not education. When you're educated, you will know where you went to school. This brings back the notion of, you've heard of schools where there are mashetanis invading schools. Nonsense. You will never, I used to ask somebody, how come these demons don't go to Alliance, Loreto, Mangu? It's because they go to these other institutions because of the way the kids there are. They have no idea why they go to school. And then you find teachers who are incompetent, who do not know the traditions of the school. Some of the schools don't even have traditions. Like when you went to Loreto, you knew you owed it to yourself and the school to pass. So you read. Same with Alliance High School. And the caning you're talking about, of course it's been ongoing. Kids are being caned in school, let's not cheat ourselves. The problem is, why are they caned? And you bring back caning. There's a difference between caning to instill discipline and caning to butter. You cane my child, I take you to court, please. I will take you to, because I know my children. I know
Moni, do you think
well.
that this call to bring back caning then will curb the indiscipline problem?
It will not. It's going to bring about hardcore rebels.
Moni, let me ask you a question, if I may. Yeah?
Please do.
It's something that parents grapple with. You do know your child, but how much do you really know about your child?
I know my child so well. They went to a private school in primary school. They were caned. If they did not get 100% in math, I had no problem with that. And they would come and complain. And one of them suffers from a condition called eczema. And I would talk to the teachers and tell them, and we were friends. I'd advise them, please, if you're caning Fekane, cane her elsewhere, not on her hands, because she has eczema, and it's affected by caning. And I don't think as parents we really get to know our children. We are busy looking for money. I discuss deep issues with my children, and we differ. But I always put my foot down and say, I am mommy. My kids are extremely brilliant.
You know,
and they can really take me to task.
The reason why I asked the question is because children are one thing to their parents, they're another to their peers.
And to their teachers.
And it's not just children, that's how human beings are.
Yes.
Depending on who you're with, you'll be one type of person. The people in your church group, if you go to church, will see you as one person. If you are a drinking person, the people in your drinking club or know you as a different person. The people you watch football with know you as a different person. The people you work with know you as a different person. Your siblings know you as a different person. And so do your parents. Now, there are certain parts of our nature and the traits that we have that we all keep hidden, and only certain people get to know about them. So the question I'm really asking is, when parents are confronted with something about their child which is unfavorable and pleasant, do you think, Mweni, as a parent, that parents are willing to sit and listen to this view that contradicts their own?
Their own.
It depends on which parents, huh?
Are you?
I would, I would. And one thing is, I wouldn't betray my child, but I would be impartial. I would talk to them and bring it out. I had a nephew who was at Starehe sometime in the 80s. And you know what he told me? He told me, Chief, we are caned by that guy who used to be there. What's his name? Griffin. Yes. And I believe it's an issue of the specific schools. I met a child from a neighboring school here, a day back, and they were battered by the teacher. And the teacher invited the mother to cane the child. And they're strangers. I called the child with the mother to the house, and I talked to the mother. I told her, you cannot go to batter your child. On the teacher's word. On the teacher's word. And the girl opened up, and you should know the issue. The issue was so tiny. But I tell you, it depends on the specific family, I think. I told you somebody who's going to Alliance High School, or Maseno for that matter. How come they've not touched Maseno?
Well, Moini,
where they know,
we have had
where
cases.
they know why they went to
Kakamega
school,
High School,
and there's a tradition.
A school with tradition and history, Kakamega High School, Moi Girls,
Yes.
Eldoret.
Yes, how come we don't hear of touching
We have heard
there?
them.
Are we waiting to hear of them?
Not touching, but not touching,
They're-
but we've
they're
had
not
cases of
They are called Moi girls. It's
Yes.
not, I mean, you should expect fire there.
Mweni.
So,
Mweni.
what I'm trying to say
Mweni.
is, caning is going, yes.
You know, there's something that you've said, and I'd like to just revisit it. When you first said the problem was the teachers, I
Yes.
nodded in agreement because of this simple thing.
Yeah.
The caning is not so much a factor of the school, but a factor of the individual who is the
Yeah.
educator. If
Yeah.
the educator understands that I am instilling discipline, they'll go about that caning in a very different way. If you have a sadist masquerading as a teacher, they'll have killed that child. Okay?
That's the thing. This is a problem.
Yeah.
And so part of the problem, because it isn't one source, part of the problem is in the way we get our teachers. I am of this view, and I say it very often, that the teaching profession should be hallowed. It should be one of the best paying professions that we have in the country. It should be one that demands the highest possible qualification, so that when you know there's somebody who's teaching your child, you're guaranteed that this is the best that the country has. Not this one where people are selected when they can't get the courses that they wanted.
I talked about competence. You remember competence of the teachers? I was yet to revisit it. I know it's a dumping ground. You couldn't get to your course, or there is no other way you can get employment. You go there. By the way, I'm a child of teachers, my mom and my father. And we were caned at home. But I can tell you that did not shape me. I was shaped by the Loreto nuns who never caned us. Yes, I'm a product of that, because if you get a girl who went through the Loreto nuns, well, I'm talking about the white nuns, we were not, caning is out of question. It was...
But
okay,
discipline.
Yes.
Discipline was there. Sister Mary Owen would discipline you. She would make you stand on top of your chair on the Central Park. And you will never, ever do that again. And there was something called dialogue.
Right.
We should never assume that the teachers are always right. And that is why those schools like Alliance, Loreto, we used to have prefect meetings, senior prefect meetings, and we discuss issues of the school. We should also not forget about the COVID pressure. Teachers are under pressure.
Mweni,
Children are under pressure. Yeah.
let's take a break. Let's also spare your voice a little bit. Thank you very much for calling, and thank you for always tuning in.
Missed you so much.
Asante. Asante sana. 9:45.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishu was asking me what channel is SpiceFM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
What
you.
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very swift.
The weather with Spice
Cloudy
FM.
conditions continue in Nairobi this morning. We will see highs today of 25 and lows of 15. Light rain in some parts. It's sunny at 19 in Nakuru City. Highs of 26 and lows of 14. Partly sunny conditions in Nyeri at 19. Highs of 24 and lows of 14 today. Eldoret remains sunny at 20. Highs of 25 and lows of 12. In Mombasa, it's raining as well at 30. Highs of 32 and lows of 24. And we're looking at light rain in Malindi as well at 30. Highs of 32 and lows of 27. Kisumu is sunny at 25. Highs of 31. We'll see highs of 31 as well in a sunny Kakamega at 26. Let's look into Kampala, where it's mostly sunny at 25. 18 will be your low and highs of 29. While Dar es Salaam is raining at 30, highs of 31 and lows of 24. Johannesburg is cloudy at 22, highs of 25 and lows of 15. And we're looking at rain now in Lagos at 27. Highs of 33 and lows of 25. It's raining as well in Kinshasa at 25, highs of 31 and lows of 24. Chilly early evening in Beijing at 9. We'll see lows of -2. It's 3 degrees and cloudy in Paris. It'll just go to highs of 8, back down to lows of 3. It's cloudy in London as well at 2. Highs of 9, back down to lows of 2. Coming into Tuesday, New York is clear at 6. Highs of 7 and lows of 2.
Spice up your life.
Looking much better, Mombasa this morning. We're still going to have that issue around that Imara, and looks like Imara in and outbound will have that issue for some time coming. So watch out for that. Southern Bypass looking much better now. You can use that as an option to get into the city. Just a little bit of traffic left on Langata Road, where it was before. At least that has diminished for now. Uhuru Highway still continues to be a thing, however. Through to Westlands today, the CBD quite jam-packed, and we're looking at that whole circuit. Then joining from Limuru Road, going out to Wangari Maathai, all of that just doesn't look too pretty right now. It still continues. Kamkunji is a sore spot right now. There's in and outbound traffic on Landis Road, and it's quite heavy. So if you can avoid that, at least for now, do so. Let's talk through the morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Conversation about Showmax continues. www.showmax.com. We know one thing about Showmax, is you can download whatever movie, a show, a series, and then you watch it offline later. This comes in very, very, very handy in this festive period because people will be traveling. And then you put those people at the back of the back seat of the car, and they keep asking you, are we there yet? Keep them busy. Download all the shows, the kids' shows.
Give them.
Put them on an iPad. Give them. Let them watch offline.
And not disturb you.
And not disturb you until you get there.
Are we there yet? No.
No.
Watch your program.
You watch your program. Have you watched the other one? Watch that other one. It's also there. Okay.
So essentially you're saying Showmax is a parenting tool.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And we'll even talk about parental controls as well. Yeah. You can also put in parental controls. www.showmax.com.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings.
It's 10 to 10. Let's go back to the phone lines.
94.4
I know
Spice
Zachary
FM.
has been holding, and also Patrick from Vihiga is also holding on the line. Patrick, it's been a while. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine.
Hey, umepotelea wapi?
Nimemkosa sana.
Ulienda wapi?
Niko too. I've been listening throughout but not making any contributions to your show.
We're glad you're fine.
Good to know you're there.
Nimerudi.
To Ken or not to Ken?
We have two concepts here. Punishment and beating.
Yeah.
My take is that discipline starts from home. In every home, there is a domestic law which is not written, but it must be obeyed.
Sure.
Yep.
And when you come to a school situation, you realize that some children are brought up by parents who don't know anything about reading and writing, but they are very strict and they cherish discipline. In our high schools, and particularly where the previous speaker has quoted Loretta Lyons, I disagree with her when she says that teachers are incompetent. You don't judge the competence of the teacher by indisciplining pupils or students, but by the results they give. Yeah, so I believe that when student laws are in place, they serve as a deterrent to those who would likely fall prey to indiscipline cases. So when we appended our signature to UNICEF document and the child's right and so on, we made a mistake. Because when the laws are stringent and they are meant to deter, then our boys and girls in schools will be afraid of making such heinous mistakes, especially like arson. And in fact, where I come from, committing arson is like murder, something abhorred by the society. So I believe we should have stringent laws in place, and caning should only be applied when there is a mistake and be punished proportionally. So punishment should not be battering. So
we distinguish those two. There's punishment and then there is beating.
Yes, and also it starts with the counseling, then punishment and expulsion. So when the boys and girls in high schools know that nothing takes place, they are not punished. They maybe they counseled, they are not being punished, they are not going to be expelled. They can do anything. They are above the teachers now. Teachers have nothing to do. They are helpless. Because the same parents will take the children will take the teacher to court if the teacher assaults the student.
Indeed.
And as the city says, these days teachers enter the profession when they are too tired after spending a long years working on boards or not working on or not on being engaged in any teaching related employment after college. So it makes them not really work hard. They join the profession when they are retired, are not interested in the job.
Thank you, Patrick.
Then all the problems that follow their job when they are employed.
Patrick, asante sana, and keep tuning into SpiceFM.
Asante sana, nimerudi tawasiliana kila wakati.
Asante.
Yeah.
Baba Waithera.
Oh, hi.
How are you doing?
Me, I'm okay. May I let you know that this is the most costly phone call that I've ever made.
Why?
It's very costly, and I had to wait for a long time, but it is good because I believe in the spirit of the program. Yeah.
Asante sana.
Now that I'm living in a city, there is one thing that I would want to advise guys from Nakuru. They are supposed to be buying mineral water and putting on sand grasses, brag, their goals, yeah, to prove that they are real in the city. But I'm not saying that, yeah. So I dare them to start doing now that. I challenge them, yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. All of you and me, including me, we are grown-ups, yeah. In terms of discipline, whom do we remember most? Is it our mothers our parents, or is it the teachers? When you think of discipline, I have done this is a transgression that I've done, it's an infraction that I've committed, yeah? Whom do you remember most? Oh, I wish Nani was here. Is it the teacher or the parent?
I remember my mother and
the
my
credit
teacher.
is over.
Yes, it's both actually.
So what I'm saying is this, yeah? Caning should not be introduced in school. Let us look at our parenting. And I don't know, I may go off where any time because I have got credit giving me warning. So parenting is the one that is
Should
spoiling
caning
our
be
kids.
reintroduced in homes?
No, okay, this plane, let us bring our kids in a good way.
Okay. Well, he warned us. Thank you very much, Zachary. We made your point, and at least we are really, really appreciate for staying on the line for that long.
Sure.
Asante sana. He's always a very good sport.
Very true. I think there is a problem of distinguishing for a lot of folks between caning and discipline. And I think a lot of times these are used interchangeably. That it is very possible to discipline a child without raising your hand. It's very possible. There are some things that go unsaid that you know you will follow in a certain way. There are many times you'll be told, all it took was a look from my mother.
Yes.
It might, even till today. I'm a grown woman with children. It sometimes takes a look from your mother, and that's enough, isn't it? Siti laughs because he knows exactly what he's talking about.
Because the look is a warning.
That look
it graduates.
Sure,
you
but
know
hear
very
me,
well
hear me
that this look is the introduction.
Eric, that look is a full feature film.
It's enough that she has said things in a certain way.
It's a magistrate's court.
And
You
she's
know very well.
And she's
it can go to the High Court.
And she's put down the law
Supreme.
before. You are aware that even before her raising her hand, or it was not even, the hand never actually had to be raised. Because it had already been put down in a certain way. There's certain things that were ingrained in your thinking from a long time ago. There's a misunderstanding that when you put your hand on somebody, that they've learnt a lesson.
You can ask you a question, huh? Why do you think that these African mothers were so feared, respected at the same time? Why do you think it was so? What did they do?
They picked anything.
Yes.
And they used it on you.
Yes. But also, you did not doubt that they loved you. You did not doubt that they had your interest at heart. You didn't doubt. So, you may not have said it even when you're a child, you wouldn't have thought it, but she looked after you and looked after your interests in such a way, because even as you're going to school, you could compare yourself with other students. You could see what she was doing.
Yeah.
Now, why am I mentioning this? When a teacher loves their job, believe me, the students will know and understand that this person has our interest at heart. That teacher is very easy to listen to.
This is my point.
Very easy.
Because I remember a number of my teachers. Of course, they never raised a hand.
Like Miss Blueberry, the one who taught
Her
you.
name was Mrs. Arp.
Yes.
But she never did. But discipline, till today, I went to see her when I had my children. And that discipline is still there. There is a way to do it. And I think we'd open up a whole can of worms then when you put that back into the hands of some teachers who are not vested in making sure this child grows up.
So no
early.
to reintroduction of
No.
caning. City?
No.
No, it's not necessary.
No, it's not necessary.
I say yes.
It's a lazy form of getting the job done.
I say yes, reintroduce caning, but also just limit it and say it's a principal, the deputy, or the discipline master who canes. I was caned, but we knew in high school it's the deputy. If you heard Mr. Gatungo has called you, you just
knew that here.
Yes.
Yes.
And the other teachers were very good, but they'd report you to Mr. Gatungo. City, so the proverb?
Yeah, that one. Kila changamoto inayokuumiza inakufundisha kuwa bora zaidi kuliko vile ulivyokuwa. Does it not make sense?
Yeah.
The changamoto.
Yeah.
Remember the lady who went
bum.
to Ngara and told us, nobody beat you, but you are given some space to wash and clean. You never made that mistake again.
Or when he's standing on a chair.
Yes.
Entire time.
Yes.
Join us again tomorrow morning. Have a lovely day, folks. It's now 10 a.m.